certainly giving them a little bit of an advantage here as the Ambessa are going to be banned away. No patch change moving into this week's play either. And so things stabilizing before we mix it all up next week.
Yeah, an insane amount of respect given towards Shiwu with the Ambessa ban. Like, his Ambessa has been really good, but out of the big four top laners, she's kind of struggled in matchups against the other. Her win rate pretty low. Jace ban, I think, makes sense. Then see the Gwen. So Rumble, the only premier top lane left available right now.
And they're not going to ban it on the blue side. We can guarantee that because Kingen very happy to pick that one up. Let's see what he is going to be banning away. Is it just Azir that you have to get rid of, right? Because then you're going down the next rung. Like, you're guaranteed that it's going to be... Oh, never mind. It's
they
Rumble
really want
counter.
the Rumble. So I think D+ can just kind of handshake this and ban away the Rumble, but that means things like the Varus get through without being looked at, things like the Clister open and available, so...
The Azir is such a big one as well because Calyx has had great performances on the champion, but Talia is also up.
Yeah,
I'd almost just ban Talia. But then you're giving away the Rumble without a whole bunch of these counter picks up and available. And so instead, they're giving Kingen the good matchup and saying, we'll take Talia, we'll take a lot of the power, because this Rumble was definitely getting picked.
Yeah, Xin Zhao as well, also available for D+, if Lucid wants to get his hands on that. So Shiwu kind of left in a difficult position with so many top laners banned, triple top laner ban. I know obviously Galio can be a flex, but effectively really hampering down on his pool. But in return, Lucid will get the Xin Zhao, and he has been, honestly, upper-end performer for D+, you know, a team on the top end of the table, but he's definitely been making great performances for that team.
Yep, and oftentimes, the way DK is dismantled is by taking away a lot of the tools that Lucid does have. Him on a jungler like this that can really influence the game, it's going to be a scary one, as there is a Ryze lock-in, likely for Showmaker. We can also just have a Renekton locked away, if they would like to, but Gideon gets his hands on the Sejuani as well, and that is a Yone. That is an incredibly powerful topside core.
I mean, I think Nongshim's so happy with this. Gideon, I think he has really performed well on these tank junglers, able to just be an absolute menace, farm up a storm. He's got this super strong combo coming through with the Yone, and as much as Xin Zhao's a great pick, and she'll make it very comfortable on Ryze, question is, what do you take in the top lane? They're looking at... I think this makes more sense. I think going to Jax, you just get completely cooked. Aurora can do... She can play the matchup into the Rumble. She has a range advantage. Problem is, if you get ganked, you know, that's where the potential vulnerability is. But I think she will making the right choice in this situation with the Aurora pick.
Yep, you can understand it. I do think the most curious part of this is the fact that the Ryze was locked in over Talia, because Talia has been so incredibly powerful and does pair well with the Xin Zhao. You can really get things going in the early stages of the game. So I'm interested in what the plan is going to be here for D+ further down the draft. As the Calista and the Varus both going to be banned away, I think Nongshim need to look towards something like Misfortune, which I think is super weird, and I need to caveat the fact that I still don't like Misfortune.
Yep.
But aiming is just really good at playing the champion. Our resident Gold King, I agree with the space 100%. And when they said in the pre-show that it should just be called the Aiming Award, not the Gold King, it's just not even a question anymore. This guy just earns too much money on the Rift.
Honestly, I think some of the struggles Aiming has had in his career is being underperformances on the mobile AD carries and being, you know, a bit of a sore spot where he gets caught out. But recently, you know, in the past year or two, he's actually really stepped up his game on these picks. So, you know, I think historically you saw Aiming on a mobile pick and you're like, oh, not so sure. Prefer him on like Ezreal, Zeri, Kai'Sa, but he's really made a name for himself in a great Ashe performance as well.
Yep.
So we'll see what they opt to go for here. I think prioritizing the AD carry makes a lot of sense. There's still a lot of supports open available. You could pick up like the Alistar if you really want that, but it does give a window for Nongshim to potentially pick a favorable matchup. That being said, I think you're probably just fine going a melee support here for Nongshim, especially to pair with the Sejuani.
And it's what Lehends generally likes doing, known for things like his Nautilus and his Leona, when he's not playing Singed and Yuumi and Elise.
You could go like Kai'Sa Nico would be a really hard lane to play into and a lot of team fight and power. We've seen it gain some popularity recently. But they end up going for the Kai'Sa Nautilus, so this Alistar ends up working out perfectly. You're happy with the matchup into the Nautilus. But a very teamfight-focused dive composition coming out from Nongshim.
Yeah, just really, it feels like Nongshim had a plan, and they've executed on it. I don't think that DK have thrown any spanners in the works here as far as what Nongshim wanted to do. Aiming going to lock away the Xayah. The last pick, Xayah, often feels like it just falls flat.
Yeah, I will say though, this is a situation, we've seen some of these comps a lot in the LCK Cup, and teams would ban like Ezreal Xayah in the last two. He had the choice of Ezreal or Xayah in this situation, but I think taking an AD carry that has some defensive tools, the Xayah into Kai'Sa, I think it makes a lot of sense. I will say, I think Nongshim's comp, very intimidating. I think there's a lot of power in D+, you know, the Xin Zhao and Alistar, great combo, but I think in terms of comp cohesion, I think Nongshim are very happy with what they've been able to pick up.
Oh yeah.
My only real concern is the solo lane matchups. You know, Aurora does have a lot of bullying power and rise into the Yone. So I think for D+ fans, you're hoping that Lucid really gets some early momentum. He has decent setup from his laners and can try and snowball a bit of a lead before we get to those team fights.
Yep, I would agree. But I think going back to Nongshim, you could see their game plan from their opening bans, right? It's give Kingin a champion that he can really affect these team fights with. And so I think on the other side of things, DK need to focus on shutting him down as best as possible, as the Blossom's going completely insane here at LoL Park, as you can see. And we are ready to dive onto the Rift for this first game. Nongshim with a pretty nice draft. DK getting what they wanted as well, I feel. So let's see what happens as we dive onto the Rift for game one.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, D+ fans definitely at full voice here today, as are the Noodle Boys. And let's see how it all unfolds as we get into our first game. So far, no early level 1s or anything like that. Calyx and Lahen's just going home after getting around and getting things sorted out.
Do you see Beryl going for the Aftershock? We've seen a lot of phase rush recently, but the decision to have that extra bulkiness and going for trades has a good amount of value.
Anything else that's sort of standing out? Not really.
No. 5 gold lead for aiming already. That's the Gold King right there.
Do you think he just gets that passively?
It must be. There's no other explanation.
I don't think he pinged a ward. I don't think so.
But you see how Nongshim have funneled their resources onto Kingin, who already has a 5 gold lead over Shiwu. So
oh my goodness.
It just shows what these teams are trying to do.
Yep, that's where the bread's buttered. You can see little arrows pointed towards these players. See whether that means the DK is going to be playing down towards the bottom side of the map as well. Sort of all jokes aside, I think that aiming is going to be very important, and there's not a lot of range on either side of the map, right? So this is actually, weirdly enough, a draft where Xayah can get a lot of work done, when often we'll see Xayah get picked and then there's like a Caitlyn or a Jinx on the other side. As speaking of Xayah, she's going to get hooked. Aiming takes a lot of damage there.
Some good trades. Obviously, Alistar level 1. Typically not valued, but, you know, into a melee character, you can get a lot out of your Pulverize, but Lahen's kind of played the range quite well. He's doing the same again. See how he Qs, autos, and then kind of walks away before Beryl can do much. I do think his Pulverize might have been down still, but regardless, he's just keeping the trade short.
Yep.
And chunking down the HP.
Well, Aiming and Beryl just going to wait for the minion wave to move over towards them. Voidseeker soaked up by the cow. And even the tower wants Aiming to be the Gold King, as it prioritizes the right minions as they walk towards Kingin. Taking a bit of damage here towards the top side of the map. We're expecting the Aurora to have a decent matchup here.
Yep. I mean, you can see mid and top both having that early prio. The side of D+, bot lane, it is Dew and Lahen's having that prio, but that should not be as difficult later on. Oh, Calyx is having a tough time if that Q had hit.
Yeah, that's devastating. And it's actually kind of interesting in these solo lanes, sort of mirrored, right? You've got Shiu and Calyx, both of them rookies here in the LCK, Kingin and Showmaker, been here a while. So the veterans versus the young guns in top and mid. So far, the veteran in the mid lane having a pretty good time, but that is kind of matchup oriented.
Yeah, it's one of these things where like the lane always looks so awful for Yone, but you know, Showmaker's pretty low on mana now. Yone doesn't have mana, and with the second wind, the fleet footwork, the Doran shield, you kind of just weather the storm, you know? As long as you're not dying, the fact that your health is low is, it's whatever, you know? You're not going to do anything really before the first back regardless.
Yep, and as you can see, after the minions are cleared, it's only like, what, 1 indifference between the two? A very early back here from Showmaker, who wants to get this tier stacked up as quickly as possible. Understandable there. Aiming, throwing some feathers out. Going to find too much damage onto his opposition though, as it's just trying to keep themselves healthy here on the bottom side of the map. And so far, no real advantages being built up from either side. I think these junglers are going to be pretty important as far as getting some of these leads is concerned. Already, Gideon coming off his first back. Does have 2 of those red rocks as the hook is going to connect onto a minion. Headbutt hold there from Beryl is going to throw Lehens away. And these feathers starting to get frustrating. Let's see whether aiming pulls those back for some damage. Doesn't quite find it.
Yeah, good.
50% on both sides.
Good trade from Beryl. You can see Lehens looking for the angle to get the dredge line onto Beryl, but unfortunately hits a minion and then immediately turn around. He will just go for a recall now. King and finding an angle on Shu. That's a huge trade actually, but Lucid looked like he was potentially going for something, but opts out.
Yeah, good ward there from Kingen. Spots out what's going on and is still able to play aggressively, keeping himself safe. Really nicely done. Kingen now just looking to go for a reset, doesn't want to risk it with Lucid in the area, and may as well just teleport back to the lane with some more items in hand. So that's going to give Shu a little bit of space. He's going to move back from his wave as well, keep it in a good spot as he goes for a reset. So
I do think mid is definitely somewhere I'd expect to see a look in. Both supports now swapping up top of the AD carries, frees them up a little bit, but also if you think about the gank setup mid lane, you know, you have a Yone with a Sejuani on a mobile mid, but on the other side, Showmaker has that point and click route once you apply the Essence Flux, so I feel like any jungler who shows up here, especially with the support as well, easy set up for a gank.
Just barely going to connect there as Showmaker just rune prisons Calyx and tells him to leave. He will do so. Yeah, that is a bit of extra control.
Playing it safe and actually backing off in this situation. 30 seconds till grub, so Showmaker will be back, but we'll see if Nongshim opt to make anything out of it, although Gideon is on the bot side right now and is actually looking towards the dragon. I see the pings come out.
Yeah, both junglers, in fact. Feeling a little bit like they want to check this one out. It's Rise Bloom used.
We've seen both the junglers kind of mirrored on where they are on the map. Oh, wait, we actually see Lucid starting up the dragon. He's just in the pit clearing the ward, actually.
Yeah, we'll do that. Arctic Assault does bring him out as Showmaker comes on over and Flash has to be employed. The value of the Realm Warp already in this game. Used really nicely there by Showmaker, and we'll see whether Lucid actually takes this as an opportunity to head towards the dragon. It looks like they don't want to risk it. Still, really nicely played, and it's not often that we see like 6-minute Realm Warp value.
Yeah, just interesting timing as well, because Calyx was on a reset, so, you know, yes, Showmaker got there really quick, but he would have been there fierce regardless, and I think Gideon may be expected to get more value out of proccing the dragon and it hitting, but we do see D+ end up backing away. Gideon is going to clear out the vision and then presumably do the dragon. It should just be dragon for Grub's trade in this situation. I think with Calyx being back and having an ultimate and Kingen starting to find priority in that matchup, I think they're just not willing to opt in. Though I say that, Gideon just dropped the dragon he's walking over. They're not trading, they refuse to.
Which is crazy because this topside wave needed to be dealt with here by Nongshim. You can see they're even freezing it in position. One grub was collected there by Lucid. Now he's just going to head back towards his jungle with all of that extra experience in hand. Bit of damage onto Calyx here, as him and Showmaker are trading pretty effectively, but already the Yone is creating some leads, and Gideon will get the extra grub over the top of DK. Doesn't work out too badly. Some pretty, I guess, subdued play by DK early on in this game. As Hook is going to come on through, headbutt, gets Lehens out of there. Gio wanting to follow up as the Glacial Prison connects. A level 5 Alistar cannot do anything about the situation, and he will be taken down. That is first blood going over to the Kai'Sa of all champions.
Yeah, good job from Beryl there to save his AD carry, but it unfortunately ends up costing his life. I think flashing the Sejuani ult would have been the right play. Opts not to in this situation, does go down, saves the summon in the end. Yeah, Kingen starting to really show up in this matchup. You know, obviously had some pressure in the early levels, but now he's just completely roasting Shu, and it feels like Shu just doesn't have the damage to cut through him.
All right, Gideon starts moving up and the hook lands. That's the main thing.
Yeah, Beryl does get the headbutt there. I think maybe here he thought if I flash, it can hit aiming. I think in the end it's the right call not to flash. Because if you flash and hits aiming, then he's probably just dead, or he has to flash too. And I think the cleaner thing is save the flash, accept your fate. Yep. You know, and he did end up saving his AD carry. Oh,
yeah, big flash out from Kingen. So that does mean that that's not going to be available anymore. We have to remember as well that Lehens did invest his flash, and so did Gideon in that last play. So 3 flashes down in comparison to the 5 available on DK's side. So they might use that in order to get some control around this dragon. That does look to be the answer. And I don't think this is going to be contested, at least not immediately. Lehens and Kingen are moving up, though. And there is an equalizer to be put down. There it goes. Calyx moving on in as Lucid throws down the ulti. That's trying to get rid of them as Beryl, now level 6, does have the ulti running. And the ultimate from Calyx is so good. Lucid just goes down and Beryl has absolutely nowhere to go. That's going to be 3 kills for Nongshim in this early game. They don't get the Drake, but who cares?
And you can see from how they're playing, it's not really about these objectives. They want to fight D+. Redstein doesn't connect, but you know, they went to the grubs, they forced them off. They could have just taken the dragon in the first place. They want to opt into these team fights. You can see why with their composition. And you know, Beryl saved his flash in that previous play, but really couldn't find the value with it here. The big thing is Shiru still dealing with the wave. He's late here. It's a 4v3. And these tools that are available, the CC lock onto Lucid, just doesn't let him play the game. And then Beryl, he's left in a situation again where I don't think the flash is going to save him, so he just accepts his fate.
Yep. And once again, we're seeing the Aurora not really be the answer to the Rumble that we were hoping to see. This is something that Doran ran into last week at the same time, and maybe it's just kind of fake news. Maybe this isn't really the counter matchup that we're seeing in, you know, examples in solo queue necessarily, or the leads in lane don't really translate here into these first objective fights as the flash comes out, but still the Glacial Prison comes through. Max range on the hook as well, as Gideon is low, but Lucid's gonna be lower, and that looks like tilt to me, ladies and gentlemen. The flash forward, good knock up there as Lehens may trade. Beryl comes over. Could it actually be a kill? In response, the answer is yes, but I don't think it's worth it, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely not. Beryl gets the gold and has to burn both sums to get that kill. But the amount of gold that went over to that Yone, Nongshim's super happy with that outcome. And the prediction from Gideon was flawless.
Yeah, amazingly played. Here on the bottom side, DK's woes continue as Kingen doing a great job in the lane down here. And I think we need to go back to that dragon play just for a moment. Like, Shia was zoned away entirely, and Kingen uses his ult on the dragon to make sure that that fight is skewed in their favor as well.
Yeah.
It's just so much value being picked up as once again Gideon goes in. This guy's Sejuani, so good. Flash comes out, still nails it.
You can see the angle he's thrown at is just, he knows what's coming. Reads it so well, super happy with the play. And then Lucid comes in the situation, 1v3, but also with the Sejuani and 2 melee champions. I mean, the fact he nearly got the kill on the head was kind of crazy, but then Beryl does burn a lot to clean it up.
Feather Storm out here from aiming. Doesn't have a lot of mana left, so he's going to probably look to go home.
Cleanse and Featherstorm down, so I think Nongshim pretty happy with that, especially as they kept the ult for Lehens. So that depth charge still available, going to make it very uncomfortable for aiming to play any fights, but I think at the moment, D+'s kind of in damage control, not really opting into any fights.
Yeah.
I think the point as well, talking about the Aurora Rumble, I feel like this is one of those things where there's a lot of picks you could have taken in the Rumble where you would have just got stomped in the early levels and then it would have felt horrible. And the Aurora obviously did well in the early levels, but you're still playing into Rumble, who still has all that team fighting power, and eventually just gets to the point where he's able to manhandle the lane. So I think it's trying to mitigate a situation, but you know, you got to remember, they could have banned the Rumble. It was very telegraphed. They opted to try and deal with it. They opted to say, hey, we think the Aurora can keep it down. I think the answer is definitely it cannot.
Yeah, this is the thing. This was a conscious decision, right? As she does have flash and looks to try and get out. There's the depth charge. Doesn't actually need to use the flash there as he bounces his way out with the ulti.
Yeah, I think a little ambitious from the hands, but you know, you'll take an ult for ult trade. The thing is that she was a little isolated here, but Lucid not quite there yet, and Gideon moving over, so I don't think they can make anything from this. They should just be able to get this plate and a bit of poke.
Oh, unless...
Yeah, I think Gideon being here.
Flash and barrier both available for Jew as well, and with Gideon in the area, no worries at all.
They'll just get some plates over here on the bot side. King are going to appreciate that. So, still about 2,000 gold lead for Nongshim.
And the problem in my mind is that I feel like Nongshim's composition still looks good later on into the game, as now Beryl finds a headbutt pole. Can we get a Rune Prison down? That's going to be the question, as the trample going to keep him in place. And so there goes the Kai'Sa. That's a second kill here for D+. So some action being taken here by D+, but Nongshim still with a lead, still probably feeling all right, despite the fact that this tower is going to take a fair bit of damage.
Gonna allow aiming to get a pretty decent gold lead though, and I will say, really well played by Beryl. You know, you could see Jew was trying to wait for the opportunity to flash the combo, but it was so short range, didn't really get the opportunity to react. And then Beryl keeps up with him, gets the stun, and not only do you get the kill, but both the Jiwoo summoners as well is a pretty big boon on the back of that play.
Yep. So things actually evening out somewhat. As we've got Berserker's Greaves completed here for aiming. He had his first item done a little while back, as Jiwoo does also have his Kraken Slayer completed. Biggest mismatch here is the 1,000 gold that Calyx has in the lead over Showmaker. This, you know, his last Realm Warp was great. His first one was actually also really good. The way that he's playing with his team is working, but getting caught out in lane and not being able to quite find as much impact has been a problem. As now Beryl is going to discover Lehens and Gideon. Nice little double knock up here, but I just don't think it's going to be enough as he just gets held in place. Calyx is going to come on over with the extra damage. And yeah, he is just swept up and destroyed.
So what was that? You were saying about a gold lead between the mid laners?
Yeah.
Just that extra kill on top,
well,
you know?
That's a good old flash in from Lehens. Aiming, tries to get himself out of there, but a Glacial Prison in response.
Timing, it just came up this second. That was flawless from the side of Nongshim. As I'm seeing Aiming's health bar drop, I see the cleanse come up, but it's too late. Stuff like that, just super crisp. I love the play coming out from Nongshim. They find another kill, and it just feels like this unit, this jungle support of Gideon and Lehens, and adding Calyx to the mix, into the mix, and they're just finding so much success.
Yep, Lehens and Gideon, both of them, 100% kill contribution. They have been everywhere this game. It's the coordination, it's the team play here for Nongshim that's just looking so good, and a step above what DK are demonstrating. Have a look at it one more time as Lehens just wasting no time at all.
Yeah, it goes for the ult Q, so Aiming can't ult to avoid it. And then if you look at his cleanse at the bottom, it just comes up basically now.
Yep.
So perfectly timed to land that Glacial Prison for the Sejuani for the follow-up. So really well played there, everyone doing what they needed to do, and they not only get the ult from Aiming, but also the flash. So it's that pressure, it's that constant pressure, constantly burning summoners, so someone's always on the back foot when it comes to these team fights. Right now, Rift Herald is up and available.
Yeah, immediately getting warded out here by Nongshim, who are in position. Calyx just trying to get the shove in towards Showmaker, who does have the Realm Warp, so we'll see how he's going to be able to utilize it if they do decide to fight around this objective. Beryl is trying to keep his eye on what's going on here, but the control ward making things difficult. Lehens, with no flash, a little bit less dangerous on this Nautilus, but you can see still able to be a bodyguard for his mid laner and jungle. Jiwoo going to come on over, and that is going to mean the Rift Herald does go down. I picked up, and Nongshim will see whether they just throw it down immediately. There's no turrets have been gathered just yet, and there are 2 Drakes in the pocket of DK. So it might be just an avenue to guarantee a next dragon or something like that. We'll see.
I think that tower top is low enough. I don't think they need to throw it down there now, especially since they have this Yone who's pretty strong in terms of silent pressure. I think mid-tier 1 is where I think they should probably throw it. It's a little bit higher health than the other towers, and obviously we all know about how teams prioritize that mid-tier 1. They actually end up throwing it top, so I'm a little bit surprised.
Jiwoo actually going to be walking towards Aiming here. I don't know about that one. Does lose out on that trade. But the Rift Herald coming on through. That is going to be some driving by Lehens. He did get a license, I'm pretty sure, earlier on, sorry.
This is risky if he goes for this turret.
Well, he is going to go for the turret, so maybe that license needs to be revoked, as he's just thrown into 3 members of DK and put in the bouncy castle. He will be able to dredge line the wall. They're trying to give the kill over to Aiming. That's why he's surviving for so long, and I believe Aiming will be able to do so. Titan's Wrath coming on through there as he does find the wall once again. Why? Do we need to use the ulti there? But that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a questionable play from Nongshim. Like I said, I was a little bit surprised they went for the top tower, but also going for the second charge. Very ambitious, and now it's just going to get traded back. So
Realm Warp going to come on through here from Showmaker. Decides not to actually follow it, as the traded turrets will come on through.
Perhaps we praised Nongshim a little bit too much.
Yeah. I don't think it's like... I think they're still in a great spot.
Oh, absolutely.
In this game. That top play maybe a little bit of a step too far.
I just wanted to remind us of the mortal.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes you can make like questionable plays like that, but it's about the game plan. It's about what your envisionment of how this game is supposed to go is going, and it's working for Nongshim thus far, you know? They are able to put their Nautilus and their Sejuani in the same spot and kill someone. That seems to be the game plan.
I think just a bit overconfident in this situation. And also like the shield cooldown and the locket Forcing aiming to ult. That's a Gold King move.
게이득인데 이러면?
Yep. Yep. And he's like, this is really good for us. That's okay. And you know what? We'll just have to see whether that is indeed the case. Trading back the full turret, maybe not necessarily the greatest thing, but Gideon and Lehen's just seeing whether they can find something more. It's a lot of proactive play here from Nongshim. It's really great to see.
Oh, Kingen might be in trouble here.
Yep, he's got a very long lane to deal with as Xiu looking to slow him down, and he is just going to teleport away.
Just the instant reaction to know that Xiu has no way to stop it. So just instantly start channeling, you send some things up, you see Lucid step over the ward, and he's the only person who can stop it, but obviously has to get in range. Not so easy to do.
Yep. Actually needs to be 3-talent strike, right? If he's there by himself and he wants to get in with Wind Becomes Lightning, because you can tag him so you can't see him with the ult.
That's the problem. If you can like E to a minion and then flash ult, that's the quickest way to interrupt it. But again, that's not the easiest thing to pull off. So.
And also you have to invest a lot.
Yeah, it's not like this Sejuani you can just walk over and ult and it's like, okay, cool, you know, teleport. So I think the right read in this situation from King in there, gets out, only costs his teleport, and we're dragging up in 15 seconds. And Atakan as well. Wow, he's where he needs to be.
Yeah, they are just on it. As now DK, a little bit late to this party, moving on down towards the Atakan. But remember, Nongshim's resistances are getting shredded here. Nice sidestep from Beryl as they spot out what's going on. Knock up onto the cow. Let's see whether DK can actually make something happen here. Glacial Prison comes down as Lucid. I mean, it could have been a steal, but it isn't. As it's Gideon that locks that one up. Now Beryl gets a headbutt back onto Calix. He's the target, and he's going to get wiped out. It's a decent equalizer, but no follow-up here on the side of Nongshim as now they're running for the hills. Lehen's in trouble as well, and oh no, Atakan, a tale as old as time. It does tend to just wipe teams out, doesn't it? Some petals now going on over to DK.
And this is third Dragon for D+ as well. They should be able to pick this up. I think the really important thing is that it was the Ruinous Atakan, not the Voracious. You know, normally, if the Voracious gets secured, you're kind of like, oh, do we really want to take this fight? If it's Ruinous, it's like, absolutely, we want to secure all the petals on the ground. So even though Gideon gets his smite here, the boosted buffs is kind of meaningless when they have no dragons, they have no other buffs to offer. So yes, they secure this, but D+ are like, we're still going to take this fight. This engage from Beryl to find Calix is great, doesn't give an opportunity to reposition. And the flowers aren't really being touched until D+ start hitting them, because Nongshim had to focus on the fight.
Yeah,
so now they
had to get out.
Yeah, they trade 2 for 1. They clean up all the flowers in the aftermath, and they get the dragon. An absolute win for D+ there.
That was a huge one. And Calix being taken out as well. That was some shutdown gold going on over to Nongshim as Lehen's not going to be bothered by that. Already just engaging on a Beryl, just hit by everything from everyone, but he's able to walk it off. He's not feeling too bad.
And now we're getting to the point where some big spikes are coming through. Showmaker just before that fight had finished his Archangels. He's fully stacked. He's 1 stack away from having his Roa completed. You know, aiming's approaching a 3-item spike as well, which is really what you want for these crit 80 carries compared to Jiru, who's happy on 2. So I think, you know, even though they're still down in gold, I think D+ feeling a lot more confident now, especially when we're looking towards the fact they have 1 dragon from that soul.
Yeah, the dragon is going to be a huge deal. 3.5 minutes until that one does come up.
And as much as it is just Notion Soul, not the strongest, there's some bulkier targets on the team. It's definitely got some value that they will appreciate.
Yep, and when you've got like 2 brawly compositions like this as well, I think it is very valuable. Get in amongst it, and then if you ever get a chance to disengage, you just have a lead, right? Yep. Because you've got that Ocean Soul available. That's helpful. Despite everything that we said about the Aurora situation, by the way, actually sort of holding his own here and is even on farm and things like that, able to keep this wave shoved.
I think it's getting to the point where you just one-shot the waves, you know? It's just, Shiva one-shots the waves, King one-shots the waves. Limited interaction going on between these 2 champions right now.
Seems to be working out for Shu, let's just say that.
Yeah, I think the ebb and flow happened a little bit. Now, it's still a Rumble and team fight with a Menace, but Aurora obviously still has a lot of value there as well.
Yep. And it's Jiu that's been a little bit of the question mark here for Nongshim. His positioning is going to be the most important, and if Shu ever gets a combo onto this Kai'Sa, she's not going to be fighting, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of damage, especially now that the second item is completed. Cosmic Drive just done.
Oh, Roa came through for Showmaker. I think he just hit level 14, got the full level up to 15. And level 16 is a huge spike. You know, you get that increased damage on your Q with it. So If you can time that to come in for this next dragon, it's going to be great.
Well, aiming as well, getting a fair bit of damage down as Calyx is forced to use his ultimate to get out of the situation.
Good moves. But again, I think D+, you look at that dragon timer and you say that's when we want to be ready to fight. Showmaker will be level 16 by then. Just stop them from doing the Baron. That mid tower's a little low. I think you might have to give it up. We'll see them try and defend.
Yeah,
Actually,
the
good job a bit.
Side is actually thinking about going for some sort of engage.
Yeah, the Shield threat may be enough. But you see how all 4 members came together, but they kept Showmaker farming. They know what they're playing for right now.
Yep, good collapse. And with Realm Warp, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
And so that allows you to cheat tempo a little bit in this game. DK going to try and use that to get themselves back into a better position. And it's so crazy to think that my sense of, oh, this might actually be okay for DK is all coming from the fact that aiming is farming really effectively.
Yeah.
Like 20 CS up, 2-1 and 2 on this Xayah right now. 3 items on the way. And he could just be that late game menace. And it's great to think about aiming as a consistent threat in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, I think if within the next minute, what I'm looking for from D+ is get Seeker's Arm Guard on both your solo laners if possible, and get IE for aiming. And then you are primed to fight. Then you are in such a good... The gold lead would feel kind of irrelevant if you're able to get those big item spikes. And level 16 for Showmaker, of course, which is approaching. So we'll see if they're able to pick those up. It's 45 seconds from the Dragons, so it's getting a bit closer. And aiming's been sitting on that BF sword for a while.
Yep. Blue buff not going to be stolen away here as Leisha's back, and so Gideon not going to be risking it. Should just be blue secured for D+. They already have their red, so buff's not going to be too much of a worry here on either side. And Baron up on the table. 25 seconds until the Dragon, though. That's the big deal. And this is the power of DK picking up that soul point. They now have so much more flexibility. Giving away 1 Ocean, who cares?
Showmaker picked up a Blighting Jewel instead. I think maybe didn't have enough money, but not as ideal. We do get the IE for aiming, though, and level 16 is on the next menu for Showmaker. So some big spikes, but maybe not as much as it potentially hoped for. If you look at the side of Nongshim, even people who have a decent amount of gold haven't been able to complete full items over their D+ counterparts. But we do see Calyx starting the Dragon.
Yeah, and it's going down
respond
extraordinarily quickly. D+ could respond with a Baron attempt or something like that, as Lucid looking to come on over. He's not going to be able to steal this, so instead they're just voyeurs watching it as it goes down, threading the needle onto Showmaker there with the Glacial Prison. The Equalizer not really doing too much, no real engage here from Nongshim as in goes Lucid to look for his opportunity. 2-man Pulverize comes through as well as Lehens has to get out of there, and Nongshim are all split. Lehens goes down first, but Nongshim are now just trying to get themselves out. It's Calyx that has to ult, and the Realm Warp to deliver 4 members of DK forward. There is an attempted interrupt that doesn't quite work there onto Kingham with that Blast Cone as DK, they really want more. But it is just the heist on the Dragon. Oh, I don't know about that one. As Showmaker does manage to catch them out. Calyx eating some honey fruit. And Nongshim will at least escape, but so much control now of the map for DK, and they should be able to take this out of turret mid.
See, Nongshim, I think just give it up. But honestly, I think D+ are kind of upset with how that panned out. You could see they were hunting for more. They were ready to fight. They wanted to take it. They were a little bit late for the Dragon, but you know what they wanted. They wanted the Baron. They want to take out a couple members more and be able to secure that objective. But in the end, they just spent so much time chasing kills, never securing them. And now Nongshim are actually starting up.
Okay, they're not even sweeping this. So that ward is going to spot everything that's going on. But even though DK could see the Dragon going down, it didn't actually matter last time either, as all of them grouped up for this. And now the Baron completely out of vision. Hook going to connect here as the immediate turn from Nongshim, and they blow up Showmaker. Aiming is free hitting, trying to find the targets. They just moved back into the fog of war once again, and it's now Beryl's turn to face check. The map is so incredibly dark as another Equalizer comes down. The amount of value here from Kingham is massive, but aiming as well. That Featherstorm keeping him safe, and Shiu flashing forward, getting out so many flashes from Nongshim. And DK just can't quite find the fights they're looking for, but they have been able to kill some of these stragglers as Lehens finally comboed down, and Shiu getting the kill under the Nautilus once again. Now the knock up as Calyx looking for him, but he has to go back to that soul. So unable to actually complete the kill. Man, this is, all of these skirmishes feel like they're neck and neck.
So much so, just ebb and flow constantly of team trying to find that little advantage. Now looking for something here.
Yep, Calyx goes in, gets the knock up on aiming, and he's wiped out. The flame spin of value, gigantic as well as Calyx back stuck in amongst it once again. Lucid goes down, and there's a real fight win for Nongshim, and their reward will be a Baron.
When it comes to the battle of attrition, it's Nongshim who win out. The lack of ult on aiming and the fact he didn't end up using his flash does cost them massively. So long we play here, so the goal here was looking for Showmaker. Remember, he got the Blighting Jewel, he didn't get the Seeker's Arm Guard. He gets CC chained, he's just dead. There's no outs for him. But you see the D+ able to get a good amount of damage back. Beryl does look like he's in an uncomfortable spot, but it's an Alistair. And then Lucid blocks that Dredge line that could have gone for aiming. Aiming gets a decent amount of damage here, but just not quite the kills they were maybe hoping for. Again, low health bars running away, and they settle for a Lehen's kill, which is kind of whatever. Not really the target you'd hope to take down. Lehen's just like, it's fine. He probably said that in chat. This is good, you know? Make something happen. And then here, Calyx with the stacked up Q over the wall, out of fog of war. Aiming doesn't see him, doesn't get a chance to react.
Really well played by this very young mid laner for Nongshim. Remember, they started the season with Fisher, and it was actually Yone that Fisher found a lot of his success on. Not necessarily this season, but in the LCK Cup, and prior to that, was one of his better champions, but Calyx piloting it incredibly well here today as the inner turret falls down, utilizing this Baron really effectively. 2.8k, the Rebel Baron power play, and that is only going to extend, and we're moving towards a pretty substantial gold advantage.
Yep. I mean, at this point, it's really starting to feel rough. This Yone is so strong. I was talking a lot about those power spikes that, you know, D+ had. That was that moment. That was a comeback moment. That was when they hit the big spikes and really they would hope to make some headway and turn this game around, and now they've missed out on that. You're looking at Calyx, who has an IE completed and the shield and the QSS. He is so strong right now. Level 16 being hit by Jiu. He's got those 3 items. Those Void Seekers starting to do a decent amount of damage.
Yep.
And the thing is, D+, they were one away from Soul, but they might stay that way for a long time if Nongshim have anything to say about it.
Yeah, at least D+ have been able to at least curb the gold influx a little bit here. Now Gideon looking for even more. Glacial Prison connects onto Beryl, who really doesn't want to press his ultimate button, and he doesn't. But it's actually going to be useful, so now it's a big tool from Nongshim on cooldown.
From Showmaker, though. I think that's what they really wanted there. They forced Showmaker to join, and now it's a straight-up 5v5 on the map.
Yeah, Void Seeker not going to find the mark. Shu looking for a flank every single time. Now it looks like it is actually just going to be a fight for this Dragon. Lehen's going to get knocked up. Beryl needs to wait for his cooldowns, and DK not overly committing to anything. Lucid tanking up the Void Seeker. Can they actually get the soul? That's going to be the question as Lucid gets into the pit, and he is going to be able to take it away. In the meantime, Void Prison onto Lehen's, but Beryl may just be dead. He flashes away and gets into the Realm Warp. That was sick from the cow. He's still burning down, but he is not going to die, so that is just a heist.
D+ super happy with that. You know, again, it's not the strongest soul, but you'll absolutely take it as a bit of a boost to try and make up for this discrepancy in combat power. And the fact they got out without losing anyone in that situation, more than happy. And on top of that, Showmaker aiming, retain the summoners.
Whoa.
Over Lucid.
There's a big old ultimate as Calyx has gone in. Hasn't actually unbound the soul, and he just kills him. Never mind, he did. I didn't actually see the little spirit line, so that's just a dead Lucid, even with Showmaker watching.
Yeah, a lot of damage, and Ocean Soul not going to keep you alive from that one. Lucid, unfortunately, caught out there. We'll see a replay of this. So it's just interesting because they have these positions with Lehen's and King N potentially threatening flanks, but Lucid is just allowed to walk in. Beryl doing a good job of playing bodyguard, and then they want to look for the fight afterwards. They get double ult on aiming, but this Realm Orb from Showmaker, he Realm Orbs his team and he runs away, so he can't be interrupted. And Beryl even survives here. Showmaker walking to... I mean, he would have blocked it anyway, but making sure he doesn't get hit by that Void Seeker.
And this was just ridiculous.
I think, honestly, Calyx has had such a good eye for the angles of approach.
Yeah, man.
Here on that earlier play on aiming.
Gives himself a nicer as well. You love to see that.
I mean, 100% deserved. 7-1-4 on this Yone. And you can definitely argue that a lot of the work was done by Gideon and Lehen's to get him to this point. But he has really paid off that investment.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to put your money into your carries, and then it's their job, right? And so Gideon and Lehen's did exactly what they needed to in the early game. 1-0-10 here for Gideon. Man, this guy is an absolute monster. And yeah, giving that money over to Calyx, and he is able to utilize it.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've actually seen both solo laners for D+ went for the Void Staff, but aiming went for Mortal Mortis. Doesn't have any armor pen yet. And that Sejuani is tanky.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, a full rotation of abilities from Chiu or Showmaker aren't going to kill Gideon. And aiming doesn't have that armor pen yet, so maybe a little bit problematic trying to cut through some of this front line.
Yeah, this Yone in a side lane, as we're seeing, is becoming a bit of a problem. Only one inner turret is left up and available. 5 turrets to 2 now, that score as well. 7,000 gold is the approximate lead for Nongshim. A lot of control in this game, despite the soul going over to DK. They're utilizing the 5 grubs, you know, they're making sure that they can keep the pressure on, keep the map as small as possible for DK, keeping it very, very dark as well. 38 seconds on the Baron. That's going to be the next one up. We might have an Elder flip on our hands, though. Orcs, that's the thing I'm a little bit worried about here. 3 minutes until the Elder is on the table.
I mean, one of the things is with the Ocean Soul, D+ can kind of, you know, hang around in a neutral state for a while, just trying to get a little bit of poke down. The comps don't have that much poke, they are a bit short range, though. But if you're, like, sitting on an objective for a long time, they're kind of fine with that. I just think Nongshim should never even let the Elder Dragon get low. That is the lose con at this point, is D+ get an Elder.
Oh. This is a little dangerous. Glacial Prison comes in, but once again, not a lot of follow-up. There's Beryl in that front line. Is at 50%, but he's otherwise not too worried about it. The fight over Baron Vision continues. Lehens finds the anchor as there's a knock-up onto Gideon. He's actually taking a lot of damage here, but into the backline goes Calyx. Huge ulti from Lehens, but aiming with the Featherstorm. Chiu takes that as his opportunity to go in, but he's going to explode. He goes golden, and down goes aiming. It's Calyx once again who's the answer, and this time Showmaker actually has the arm guard, and Chiu! Is it finally his moment to get something done on this Aurora's Calyx? Between a rock and a hard place, as we like to say here in the LCK, but he's dodging a lot. The soul is unbound, but then removed from his body entirely. And my God, this game is so back and forth. Did DK actually come at it? They did come out ahead.
They came out ahead in that one. Very scrappy there, but I think Showmaker getting a lot of value there from the Seeker's Arm Guard. Another team just goes straight onto the Baron. This is huge, a massive influx of gold. 2 minutes away from Elder. Let's see how this started out. So Gideon feels super confident with how tanky he is. But, you know, you're into an Alistar who, even though he's not as tanky on paper, he can just press ult. And so a lot is committed here. I do like this combo that comes in. Calyx gets a knock-up on aiming, and it's layered, but the follow-up isn't quite there. You can see...
Oh my God, that knock-up from Lehens was amazing.
Yeah, the Beryl did knock up Calyx, forced him back, and then Jiwoo flies in to finish off aiming, but he's right in the mixer, and the Seeker's Arm Guard keeps him alive initially, but Lucid finishes him off. Calyx is trying to do everything. He finishes off aiming. But against these 3, with that extra Ocean Soul healing, just doesn't quite have the cooldowns to cut through. And ultimately, a little bit of a harder fight to navigate. I think there were some great moments. Beryl did a lot of work there, but Jiwoo, you didn't need to fly in at that point. You know, I think there's a lot of positions you could have finished at the end of his ult, where you would have been a lot harder to punish, but kind of just ended up in the middle there. And now that gold lead down to 3,000, lowest we've seen in a while, and Elder is 40 seconds away.
Oh my goodness, what an absolute barn burner of a game 1 here today. As Lucid finds Gideon. Gideon's health bar just looks so formidable.
It's aura, you know, that's sort of health bar. It's intimidating.
Oh yeah.
You know, Beryl has to use cheap tricks like Celestial Opposition and his ultimate to make himself that tanky. Gideon is just raw hell.
And also, Gideon is a person and a boar at the same time, whereas Beryl is just a cow, you know?
He's doing what he can, though.
Yeah, he is. He is doing a great job. But it all comes down to this. We were talking about it. Elder flip time as Gideon and Lucid are in the area. The dragon has spawned, and Nongshim wasting no time. Kingen on a flank angle, and remember, this is Ocean Rift, so there are so many pockets of darkness on this map. Chiu discovered by a control ward, though. He will be able to clear that one out as Beryl just providing the only target that Nongshim can look for. They have to give away their position as Calyx in this pit. Still just 1v1ing the dragon right now as Lucid's going to pop on in. Beryl just wanting to get Gideon out of there. Now Calyx finds the ulti onto 2 into that backline, is aiming, just trying to get rid of him. Calyx taking a lot of damage. Beryl gets a 3-man pole, and there goes the Elder. DK have done it. They found the angle. Lucid's able to take down the Yone, and Kingen, he's still scary, but as soon as he comes out of being golden, he is dead. And DK will find the ace, and this will be the end of the game. 38 minutes. Nongshim in control the whole time until they weren't.
They only got a gold lead at the end of the game. They've only just overtaken Nongshim, but they clutch the fight. Lucid finds the smite, and D+ come out on top. What an error from Nongshim there. And ultimately, she was positioning. The fact that the Elder got low, you can see Calyx trying to stack up his Q on it, and it just got it too low too quickly. And at the end of the day, Lucid clutches those.
Yeah, and this is part of the big test for DK, because they have been the team that has just fallen over. Not in this game, and often not in game ones either, as we got some big grins on the faces of the DK players. And yeah, some of the opposite looks on the side of Nongshim, very understandably so. But if you're looking towards a game number 2 as Nongshim, I think you're probably saying winnable.
Yeah, but it's such a frustrating one because that game was very winnable, and ultimately the big mistakes came down to objective control. You know, the fights were good, but the fact they let Lucid smite Soul,
yeah,
the fact they let Lucid smite Elder, those are the moments that really cost them. And you know, yes, there were some good fights from D+ that won around the red buff that brought them back into the game, but I think letting the Elder get that low in HP, that was the mistake there. You know, why chance it? Just take the fight, focus on that. You let the Elder get a bit too low.
Yeah, having a lot of damage here. Like, Kingen, massive amounts of damage. In
Calyx
fact,
did
him
so much.
And Calyx, yeah.
That was
double.
Look at the gold graph. That was a 1 game. Even with the dip off they received, that still should have been Nongshim's game, but D+ came in clutch at the end. And Lucid, you know, he wasn't having the greatest game early on, but that fight around red buff and the Elder, he clutched the smites, and he clutched that fight, so that's all he needed to do.
Yep, DK win out with the power of friendship in the end there, finding the team fight to take the game. But Nongshim are not out of it yet. And if you believe in Noodles, there is still a chance. A short break, then the space is going to break that one down. And then we'll have game number 2. See you there.
Jace is on the other side.
Oh,
I think it was Vi, actually.
Why is Vi Kingen?
I don't know.
What was wrong with
I
it?
want you to explain yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't actually explain it. Everyone else is a champion, and I just wrote Kingen. Maybe I was just reading Kingen. Which champion is going to slip into the draft in this game as we dive into Champion Select? Lilia and Jiwoo are going to be banned away here, as there is Kingen once again banned on the side of D+. No, Vi and Azir, and there is the Nefiri taken away.
But again, heavily targeting the junglers.
Yeah,
so last time it was top lanes, this time it's junglers.
Yeah, with like they have a laser focus in one area, is what it kind of feels like on Nongshim's side. They're like, we'll test the Lucid side of things now.
And this time D+ have kind of been like, look, we're not going to ban all the top laners, and you still get Rumble. Rumble's gone.
I mean, they're still just going to ban the same things. They're just in a different order.
I mean, because Jace is up and Gwen is up, so they banned the Gwen. So this is why the Sion ban came out. This is a kind of it's different. but it's a repeat of game 1 where what you often pick into Rumble Galio, what you often pick into Jace Scion. This is a Jace first pick for Kingen. And if you take Ambessa into it, you're not going to have a fun time in lane. So
yeah,
we'll see if D+ opt to do that or want to go in a different direction. And the thing is, we saw that like 1-2 power punch where we got the Xin Zhao Rise came through because the Rumble got prioritized, but those picks aren't available this time as a result of Fearless. So it'll be interesting to see what they opt to prioritize this time around in terms of junglers. A lot of the top ones have been taken away. Skarner's like the highest prior jungle right now that's left open, but I don't think people are too keen on Skarner. Ahri, definitely a solid pick, but there is Tilia open and available, or Victor, I feel like, for Nongshim, which they'll be happy with.
Yeah, the Ahri, it does kind of deter the Tilia pick because we've seen Ahri picked into it a lot of times, but I do feel like Tilia has a lot of strength on this patch.
Yeah.
Just have to see what Lucid's going to be taking away here. You can see aiming, having a lot of conversation, and this is some Ren set opportunities.
I mean, I think you just go Varus here with for Nongshim. You go like Varus, Tilia, you go Varus, yeah, I mean, probably Varus, Tilia makes a lot of sense. Varus, Poppy.
Varus Renata would be okay.
Varus
Poppy sounds pretty good.
Varus Poppy's pretty good. There's a lot of options. You can flex that Poppy to jungle as well. Gideon's played it extremely well there, so.
Ooh, the Elise. This is one of the Lehen specials, of course, and it will be locked away. Could be going to Gideon, of course. You never really know, as these could be swapped around entirely. There could also be a mid lane Jace and a top lane Poppy. You never really know.
Yeah,
okay?
I'd probably expect the Poppy jungle here.
Gideon was incredible.
And the Elise, I think, makes sense, because if you want to play Elise, you have to take it before the second round of bans. Because I honestly think against Nongshim, the amount of times we've seen Elise in the second round of bans...
Every time, if it's up.
Staggering.
Yeah.
So, looking at options here, I think Renata... A little bit of a tricky matchup.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Beryl is the kind of guy that would not feel pressured.
Yeah,
but he's going to take the better matchup.
I think the Nico's better. A lot more laning prowess into ranged champions, whereas Renata kind of appreciates being into melee champions, so I think the right pick made here by D+. And now going to ban away picks that potentially come out in the mid lane, taking away that Silas first and foremost.
Yeah, it's kind of going to be taken away as well.
From Nongshim, to no surprise, 3 junglers banned already by them, with the Skarner getting taken away. Viego or Wukong or Pantheon, maybe, some of the remaining ones that I would expect D+ to look towards that they could ban.
What about the Varus? Because it feels like DK not really too worried about what Jiwoo is going to be picking here today.
Yeah, maybe they're in the mindset of, look, we can ban Varus, but maybe they go Ashe. But to be honest, I think you're happy if they, I mean, as much as Ashe historically has been good into Kalista, into Nico Ahri.
Yeah.
Not a fun time.
So instead, ban away the mobility and allow him to pick something that is a little bit more dangerous. One last ban here for Nongshim. Seeing what they want to take away. Shu's champion pool. Still something worth considering unless they want to just continue banning junglers.
Yeah, could also throw a ban towards top lane, but I think you're pretty confident to most things that can come out there.
Nocturne.
Nocturne gonna get taken away. I mean, Nocturne Nico is horrible to play into. You know, that is just a fever dream if I've ever seen one.
This is a Viego angle, isn't it?
I think Viego or Wukong are both fine. I think Pantheon, Lucid really likes the Pantheon, so I could also see that.
Oh, true.
But I think those are all viable options.
The things that were on the rise as far as, you know, the look in at the stocks were concerned was the Pantheon, but not the Wukong. This will give them a lot more team fighting power. Follow up to the Pop Blossom as well, but you do like have a little bit more susceptibility to the Steadfast presence.
I feel like the Ezreal ban, you know, I talked about this in the last draft, how Nongshim's draft was the sort of draft you ban Ezreal Xayah against.
Yep.
Xayah's already taken away, Ezreal's gone. Yes, the Varus is no surprise, we talked about already, but playing in a mobile carry into that does not look like a fun time. The Tilia comes through very late, but not a big surprise. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. Both of these compositions are trying to remove fun for the enemy AD carry.
Oh,
right?
dear.
You're playing Kalista into Tilia Poppy, and you're playing Varus into Nico Wukong Ahri.
Yeah, aiming and Jiwoo are just not allowed to have a good time here today.
Yep.
There is one person that is going to be having an exceptionally good time, and that is Shu, because Yorick just always has a good time. You know, we saw Morgan demonstrate what this champion is capable of last week, And I don't think we're forgetting Yorick Mori anytime soon. We'll see what Shiu's going to be able to get done on the champion.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this particular spot for it, because I think Nongshim do a pretty good job of handling side lane threats. You know,
yeah.
Jay should be confident that Talia can also go there in a fix. And up until that point, D+'s composition was heavily focused on team fights, right? And now they're in a situation where they've lost an engage tool because they were looking at the Ornn potentially. And you may think, oh, well, it's just one engage tool, they have a lot. But playing into Talia Poppy, hard to find engages potentially.
Yep. Go Noodle Men. I love that. It's a slight adaptation from the Noodle Boys. I kind of like the Noodle Men.
They've grown up. They're the Noodle Men now.
Yeah, they definitely are. And, I mean, technically, they are Noodle Men, right? They're certainly adults here on the Rift. Let's see what happens, as there is a lot of power for Nongshim. I think the D+ certainly win in side lanes, things like that is something that the Yorick does provide for you. They have a lot of pick potential. See how it works out as we dive into the Rift for game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, that wasn't a flash, right? Oh, the flash was here.
Sure, make up the flash.
There we go.
Well,
I was like, I heard the flash sound. I'm like, is someone flashing out of base? That used to be my one of my close friends' favorite strategy when he played Wukong, was to flash the enemy base wall and then just recall.
Oh, you know, I heard someone mentioning the other day. Have you seen the Lee Sin Neela strategy? That was rage a bit. I'll explain it after we see what happens here.
Oh, that piercing arrow missing is kind of crazy, but that heroic charge, that is going to land, and then Nimbus Strike has already been taken, so Lucid's just dead. I'm pretty sure he got word of the fact that there were a lot of bad guys over there.
Yeah, you know, I'd assume the Showmaker mentioned his flash being burned. And Lucid's like, you know what? I'll do one better.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't, actually. He held the flash.
Well, I think...
Has his flash, doesn't have his life.
Yeah, I think Nongshim happier with the outcome of that one.
Might be onto something.
Given over to Gideon there. But yeah, the Neela Lee Sin strategy. Because you know how Neela has that shared XP thing?
Yeah.
You would go into their base. So Neela would flash over the base wall, and then you'd ward hop, and then you'd proxy double waves, and you'd hit like level 2, level 3 really fast. So if the enemy team tried to fight you, they would just lose because they're level 1.
Oh, that's actually
And it was this like cheesy solo queue strategy that was very obnoxious. Because like if you think about level 2, level 3 Neela Lee Sin against level 1 anything,
yeah,
it's so hard.
The fact that they can tank 2 waves at once is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you come and fight them, then you're not getting the wave. It's just hard to do anything. It's hard to do anything again.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. So someone mentioned that the other day, and I was reminded of that devious strategy.
Well, speaking of devious, Gideon has a lot of power in this game, and so he's going to head towards perhaps the enemy jungle. Has 5 loss streak here for Varus, certainly one of our premiers. As never mind, Lehens looks for a cocoon onto Beryl. Beryl's going to have to heal and flash to get himself out of the way, and it wasn't an attempt at the enemy jungle. It was in fact an attempt at a gank. He's going to get spotted out. Good Spidey senses there, which you'd need up against Elise, obviously.
I think if Lehens is flashing on you like that, you got to assume his backup is in the vicinity. They make a good move, but now, you know, Jiwoo is going to be able to pick up this farm, but it means he's not going to be able to join. This is a 3v2. I think Nongshim maybe overstayed their welcome a little bit.
Yeah, Lucid does have an extra camp up on Gideon, but it is just going to be a smite fight, and that goes over to Gideon. Yeah, down to 25 health. Last smite is going to be the best one.
Yeah, huge win there for the side of... Oh, and the cannon gets missed as well, and Jiwoo will get it.
Oh, disaster.
Pretty devastating start for the side of D+. You know, everything seems to be going wrong from the beginning of the game.
Oh, Gideon also going to be able to grab a crab. As Lucid says, well, if it's going wrong, then perhaps what we need to do is just lane gank, and he's spotted on the wood.
And I think Gideon is actually coming over, which I think might be a mistake.
Yeah, they will see that he Oh, that was a little bit cute as Lehens does manage to go up into the sky, gets back down onto a minion, is now Lucid, able to get on over there. No heroic charge to take the kill, but Calyx is in position, aiming, wanting to kill Jiwoo as well, as Beryl just trying to be annoying. Can aiming find a Renset? That's the question. The answer is no, just barely. narrowly unable to get the kill onto the Poppy. Oh, such a Poppy situation as DK once again trading down.
Goes hugely right for Nongshim, and I felt like the play was a little bit risky. I feel like Gideon could have just gone topside, cleared out his camps, cleared out the Scuttle Crab, but instead they go, look, we've just TP'd back with our mid laner, we have priority. Lehens has a bit of an oopsie, definitely didn't want to open the fight like that, but you even see Calyx starting to walk away like, oh, we done? And Gideon's like, no, 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 we're not done. We can fight this, and it does end up being quite scrappy. It does end up being extremely close. But it is Nongshim who come out clean on this one. And a Kalista falling behind like this, never what you want.
Yep, absolute disaster. This is also not looking super great, but there is some webs down. Lucid gonna need that Q, and he does find it. The extended range helping out as there is the Tangle Barbs to connect onto Jiu, who is not gonna be able to take down Lucid here.
Yeah,
there's a lot of decoys on this D+ roster, by the way. There's just
there
gonna
is,
be a lot
there
of
is.
things all over the map.
It is a lot of, you know, they don't have the LeBlanc mid. That would have really, really elevated it to another level. But, you know, doing a pretty good job.
Needed LeBlanc mid and, like, Annie support, so we've got the Maiden and Tibbers. As this happened on the top side of the map as well, guys.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, Ghoulie wall value right there.
Yeah. But then Lehens just kind of takes a certain path, a very aggressive path.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he didn't have vision over there. I guess the Repel was still on cooldown, so he was just dead.
Yeah, Q comes up just the right time there, and Beryl comes in at just the right time as well. So at least DK are fighting back. Still 1,000 gold advantage here for Nongshim. And with a pink composition like this, I do feel like Nongshim have the ability to snowball it so effectively. And I feel like with a Poppy, pick comps just stay relevant kind of forever.
Well, the thing is, you set up for an objective, and Poppy just ults them away.
Yeah.
Cool. What are you supposed to do? It's so hard being behind against this team, but especially, you know, this is the anti-dash combo in the mid-jungle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dashes on the side of D+.
They sort of picked into it as well, as now Lehens looks for a cocoon, connects it, as Piercing Arrow as well, takes Beryl down to half health. Lucid clearing out some vision, looking to start off this dragon, will be able to do so in trade for the Grumps, or at least Grumps, Grubs, they're the ones. Showmaker now gonna land the cleanse, does have to use his Spirit Rush, and Lucid is gonna need to get out of there. So DK continuing to be on the ropes here and losing out on these objectives. Feats of strength getting closer and closer here for Nongshim.
Could be a super early one. Some trading skill shots thrown out here. Gideon not opting to go for the dragon, just going to help Calyx shove in so he can get a reset. It's not about him getting the dragon, it's about stopping Lucid from getting the dragon.
Yeah.
And now he wants to stop Lucid from getting his red buff.
And he's not going to be able to get that. Lehens also is a jungler, as we know. At least that's where she started. And so this Brambleback, nothing that DK can do to stop that one. They don't even know that it's being taken.
There's honestly something to be said for champions like Elise, or back, you know, when Rel could jungle, but she was sometimes played support.
Yep.
And just being able to do so much damage to neutral monsters, because the Q from Elise still does so much, so it does help when it comes to securing those things. Now, we'll see Lucid trying to steal away a red in return.
Yeah, you can see she actually happy to walk up to King in here. The Maiden getting some work done as well. So she just going to be having a pretty good time here in this side lane, as you'd expect. Theoric isn't exactly ahead in farm or anything like that, but we'll just continue to put as much pressure on as possible. Lucid evening out that red trade as well by heading into the enemy jungle, securing that one for himself, so no real advantage being picked up by Gideon as a result.
They've seen Poppy, though. I think Lucid's just got vision.
Yeah, the Chains of Corruption go wide.
Maybe hoping to get the cleanse there, but yeah. Does end up whipping, and that was a nice spot because Nongshim did have that level 6 advantage for a moment in the 80 carries.
Ooh, Gideon thinking about just walking up and trying to kill Shiu. Let's see whether that works. As the Cyclone comes down, there's the ultimate, and it's not going to find the mark. Another Cyclone going to be used as now Kingen taking a lot of damage, and Showmaker, he wants to kill Gideon, and he'll get exactly what he wants. Morning Mist not going to land, but Lucid certainly will. And DK finally finding a big advantage on the map, evening out the gold. They might give up a plate in mid lane for it, but that is it.
I just feel like it was a situation where they really, I don't know why they didn't expect Lucid to be there. I guess they didn't get vision of him throughout that passage of play, but just walking up to the tower like that, a little bit overzealous, I think, and got punished very quickly.
Yeah. Showmaker does invest everything and then walks back to lane. Nice charm going to connect onto Calyx. But no shoes means that this Ahri is walking extremely slowly. Let's have a look at this one more time.
So he just kind of walks up and is fortunately he doesn't get caught by the Groovy wall on the tower. But a great flash from Lucid gets him away, and then Gideon's like, okay, I'm just running, you're dead, goodbye. But Showmaker has that TP advantage, makes great use of it to clean up both of these kills, although Lucid does take the kill on the Kingen.
Yep. I think still pretty good for the Wukong to get a few extra items. Getting that Trinity Force online as soon as possible is going to be important here. As you can see, only a couple of components and a longsword.
Yeah, and we are seeing the more aggressive Ari build, I'll say. The Malignant's going to come out inside the Rod of Ages. We did see that tank Ari for a while, but not often to go for it this game. And I think a lot of squishy targets you can't pop, and a lot of value from having your ult available.
Yep. Oh shoot, able to utilize the E in order to take that minion that was just dying. Now going to be able to get that shove on. Couple of plates already going down on both sides here of this bottom lane. And Nongshim, I mean, it's still fine, basically. But it's become a far more honest game that isn't really about how horribly things went in the level 1 and in the early game for DK. And the fight around the next objective, I think, is going to be an absolutely huge deal for both of these teams.
I mean, that Fierce Dragon's still not been taken, considering we had Soul and an Elder in the last game. Could even stalled out here. Now, Gideon is looking towards those grubs. And Lucid, could this be the time to take the Dragon?
Might just be. 6 grubs over to Nongshim, though, is pretty scary.
Yeah, I think Nongshim happy with this trade. 6 grubs, and they only get the Fierce Dragon. You're fine with that.
Yep.
You know, I feel like, actually, Lucid's just resetting, so... Not even going for it? I mean, the thing is with dragons, the later the first dragon is taken, the lower value dragons are, because the chance of soul is just completely reduced massively. At this point, if you take the dragon, you know, soul's not going to come in until like 26 minutes at the earliest if you chain them all together, and more than likely even later. So,
and you do have just that win condition set up for yourself, right? With the grubs, it means that you can then chain that into a first turret with the extra damage, and then get feats of strength, be even stronger, and then you don't even need to worry about those souls like you were talking about.
For a team that has a Yorick, I'd have thought you'd love to have some of those grubs.
Yeah, the other side of that argument is you're the team with the Yorick, so when can they utilize their grubs? That's, I guess, the counter argument.
Well, at some point, hopefully, she was going to hit a tower. That's...
Yeah, I think that's the theory. Chains of Corruption this time going to connect. It does get the cleanse out from aiming. Who then just rends as Kingen is not going to get knocked up until now. Ghouliewall comes in and he's in the Thunderdome. Down he goes, and she is going to be able to lock down that kill. Nicely played by DK, good patience from Lucid, but now Nongshim no. The jungler is not elsewhere. Showmaker looking for a target though, as the flash has to be used by Calyx. Good aggression here from the mid laner of DK, and some signs of life here from Showmaker.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, with the Malignants, you feel so much better about trading your ult for a summoner in that situation. We do see
6 grubs, but a lower tower.
Yeah, I think it will be Shu winning that race.
I mean, it's 2 on the top side, but it's also 2 in the bottom lane, isn't it? Because there's the Maiden there as well. There it goes.
Yeah. So, D+, pretty happy with how things have panned out in the past few minutes, considering how badly this game started. Now, Gideon trying to take the Raptors here, but maybe just get them.
Yep.
Oh, no, not again.
It is. Oh, golly. Okay, well, Ghouliewall, if you use it against the wall like that, it does become a little bit difficult, as Lucid able to use his Warrior Trickster, but good hold on the Hammer Boot from Kingen. As Maiden, save it, save it! Oh, thank goodness she was. Okay, Calyx is what they have to deal with now. As flash out from Lucid, Seismic Shove pulls him back! And now Gideon comes on forward. They even take down the Maiden. Good answer here from Nongshim, as Jiu also here in this mid lane to try and answer if Showmaker was going to be pushing. Tangle Barbs from Beryl, not too much going to come of it, as Lahans is still hunting. They're able to push this whole minion wave up, and Nongshim wanting to take down this turret as well. We'll see whether they can do so.
The wave a little bit too small for now, and you see Lucid hanging around. But regardless, you know, it's good play coming up from Nongshim. Kingen had his flash this time, didn't have it in the last play, but the lack of Lucid ultimate, the fact that Lucid was late, I mean, he didn't even need to use it. Held onto that one very patiently, using the empowered attack speed to take down the Ghouliewall.
Yeah, nicely done.
And then ending up...
It looked like it was cancelled, and then I was like, hang on, you can't do that. As you wouldn't have to cancel it, because your team could walk through it.
Yeah.
Fine. Xiu going to be able to put together his Trinity Force as well. Double Trinity Forces now done on the side of DK. Decent power spike there. As Lucid able to take his Gromp down. Lahen's not finding a Cocoon, but DK still feeling like they're on the ropes as Beryl wanting to get that Pop Blossom angle. We haven't actually seen too much out of this Nico just yet. Has hit level 6. See whether he will be able to have an impact here as the very supposedly low health Wukong is going to scope out the brush. Next Dragon going to be in 3 minutes time, and it'll be a Chemtech. So even though it's going to be a very late soul, it's probably going to be a pretty good one.
Yeah, safe to say. So definitely will be a focal point for these teams. Minute 10 though on that Herald. Seen a lot of the teams setting up vision control around the bot side. Particularly D+, done a pretty good job of putting out some vision, getting control of that tri-brush, but nothing really going to show up there for a while. And you'd expect teams to be leaning towards that Herald now. That being said though, Gideon once again heading down towards that bot side of the map.
Yeah. Inspecting the area. Showmaker pretty mobile, so not going to be too worried. There are rocks and steadfast presences and all that sort of stuff to worry about, but as long as he keeps his distance, he should be okay. Aiming on this Kalista is struggling with the range disadvantage that he has in the 1v1.
I mean, so, you said it was quiet for Beryl this game, but just the bot lane in general, we haven't seen much of from these guys. Now look for Jiwoo.
Yeah, now we're going to see it, as Jiwoo going to take a lot of damage. Yeah, Rend won't need too many stacks here, as there it is, aiming able to take it down. I think that was the last hit. Pierce, nicely played, as Jiwoo invests everything and still dies. Showmaker connects another nice charm. Calyx actually taking a lot of damage here. The threaded volley, uncancelable, of course. As Showmaker trying to get himself out of the way, and it does not work. Thought that he had the timer on that steadfast presence, but instead stuns himself up and will go down.
Lucid looking, does manage to feel it out and disengage from the situation.
Oh, the flash steadfast presence is beautiful there onto Lucid. Does manage to worry a Trickster, but I still don't think he's getting out of this one. The wall is going to come through, and the Pop Blossom picks up one. Gideon going to be held in position, and Xiu, he teleported in. And that should mean that they are able to at least get Gideon there. So they answer the pick onto Showmaker, but they also have to sacrifice Lucid for it as well. So still a trade up for Nongshim.
Yeah, I mean, Nongshim happy with that, and the fact that a lot was committed to make that happen with the TP from the Yorick here. Xiu ends up stepping up a bit too far. Kind of unnecessary when you play it in the Poke Varus. You can just play at range and clear the waves, but I think maybe a bit overconfident with how the lane has been going into the Kalista here. It's unfortunate because you've started channeling the threaded volley. The charm gets you in the tower and you get aggro. But here, I don't think Showmaker expected so much damage, but this is a Sunder Sky Poppy.
Yeah.
Does chunk out, and then here, this flash to block the blast cone. Very cute from Gideon.
Yeah, really nicely played. And Lucid, not exactly tanky. And Lahen's and Gideon easily able to take him down. Beryl at least gets the consolation kill, and they get the flash out of Lahen's as well. Didn't really comment on that earlier, but that is going to be a decent thing moving into the next battle, possibly around this dragon, as the Herald seems to be uncontested here. Nongshim will be able to collect that for themselves. That is going to mean feats of strength over to Nongshim as well. As DK, they are laser focused on taking dragons. Because it worked in the last game, right, Orcs?
It paid off, you know? It was a winning strategy, some would say. Haha, they won, and it was a strategy.
Yeah. And you can't really argue with that. That is called outcome-focused assessment. I learned from Daniel Orcs Harrison that is the best way to assess outcomes.
It's the best way, you know? See what happens and then judge based on that.
Yeah. Foolproof. Absolutely. As Beryl says Oba a few times, and now aiming, possibly caught out of position. Chains of Corruption connects onto him, but Lucid comes on over, and Jiwoo may have overstepped. That's a flash. They are fully committing to that one. And down Jiwoo will go. No real response as the rest of Nongshim. Never mind, Kingin just darting on top of aiming, and there goes both AD carries in an instant. Kingin taking matters into his own hands here as the Shock Blast is decent. Pop Blossom gonna connect onto Gideon and Calyx, but Beryl is gonna die immediately, and Lucid cannot do anything about it. Lahen's will get taken out, and some Essence to give Showmaker some health back, but the buckler to the noggin, and that secures the kill. Nongshim, 4 on the floor here on DK's side, and Nongshim will be able to push further forward.
Big team fight win for the side of Nongshim, and she would just get some value in the side lane. Able to take down the tier 2 tower, but you know, lose your tier 1 mid in return. Oh, are they?
Yeah, unless she is going to try and kill Calyx here. Ghoulie wall positioning going to need to be good, and it just doesn't really come up in time.
I think Calyx's wall a little bit bigger.
He does put up the walls a little faster. Construction time, certainly something that Talia wins. His aiming takes a massive chunk.
Yeah, and then Jiwoo ults aiming when he still has the tenacity from Cleanse, and as a result is so vulnerable to Lucid. Then this longer fight, King and TP's in, and yeah, a lot of outplay potential there for aiming.
Yeah.
And then in this ensuing fight, like Showmaker's low on charges, Lehen's repels the ult that comes out from Beryl, and the other two targets is just a bit too bulky. And although they managed to take down Lehen, see some good moves from Lucid, just not enough. And Gideon with the buckler, you know, it's a sundered sky, and then he's gonna go Deadman's Plate next. So that buckler, there's so much this build is so fun. Just launching shields, it is just a Captain America build. That's how it is.
Yep. Gideon is a force to be reckoned with. Oh, Deadman's Plate as well.
Yeah, you just decapitate people with the buckler.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Phase Rush and Deadman's, like, you are running so fast. Kind of ridiculous. As Gideon now, you can see with that red cape. I don't think they believe that one's Beryl. As now Lucid looking for an angle here, does go in with the Nimbus Strike. There's now Shiu as well, wants to capture someone. Does manage to get the Spider, but they just killed the goalie wall, and it's fine.
Yeah, interesting TP committed there from Shiu. I guess maybe to try and look for an engage, stop the pressure, but you know, he hovered that Ornn in draft. I think if that was an Ornn TPing in, different story. The engage potential of the Yorick somewhat limited.
Yeah. Well, they are able to utilize the fake Lucid in order to scope out the Banana Brush. Showmaker on vision here, as we can see. And that is actually very confusing. The fact that a Nico can turn into a Wukong who could also be a clone, but then it could be a clone that couldn't make a clone. And so that's like clones upon clones available for DK.
Yep.
Something Beryl has been able to utilize relatively well so far. But as we can see, gold advantage still there for Nongshim, about 1.5k. And a potential fight around a Voracious Artican this time around. It's an Infernal Soul. We were mentioning the fact that it's going to be a pretty powerful soul. That's a pretty good one. As Gideon just walking towards three people, and the three people not too interested.
He's just unfazed.
Yeah.
Unfettered. He's just willing to walk up like that. Is also that Voracious Artican, so very risky if you let them all get picked up, because hard to fight them immediately after it. You get the Ginsu's Rage Blade just picked up there from aiming, so some big spikes there. And it feels like a lot of testing limits in this game, pushing and prodding and seeing what folds. Now TP comes in from Showmaker.
Yeah.
And we just got a big reset from Nongshim.
That's a fair bit of extra money. Ghostblade and the Edge of Night now done for Jiwoo.
You just hear the Artican calling to D+.
Oh, yes.
Start me. Start me.
Start me. It's never going to go wrong. And it definitely didn't for Nongshim last game. It hasn't gone wrong for any team so far in the LCK. It's always a flawless plan.
Yep.
As Showmaker does not find the Orb of Deception, as Seismic Shove needs to be flashed. That's a high-value flash to get out here by Nongshim. Calyx just farming those. 1-0-7? This young guy, I mean, even in the loss in the last game, his Yone was exceptional. Only really eclipsed by that of Gideon, who just kind of never died, even in fights that they lost on the Sejuani. It was all about Calyx making those big plays, getting those kills. As DK, oh no, they have position around the Artican. That might mean they might start it.
It's calling to them. They can't resist Artican for long.
Oh dear.
There we go.
There it is. Aiming's like, it gives gold when it dies, guys. Quickly.
He was convinced. It didn't take much.
It's time to start it up as the turret is going to be taken down in mid lane. The inner is actually secured. And now Calyx getting on over to the rest of the team. Weaver's Wall put up as Beryl. Oh, he wants that Pop Blossom angle. There is a decent one there as Shiu puts down the Ghoulie Wall just to buy some space. As fake Beryl goes in. That's just going to be a steal on a silver platter. Nongshim just walk in and take it away. Pop Blossom onto 2. I don't know whether it's going to be enough, though, as they might send Calyx home, but they don't even manage to do that. Still, they have everyone here, and one of the withdrawals has been sent out. Lucid trying to escape. Another withdrawal going to come through there as now Gideon, the one that's in trouble, one after the other. They are picking them up, and the Drake could just distract DK for long enough to let Nongshim get out.
And I mean, I think D+ happy to just take the dragon.
Jiwoo, why are we I don't know why we're there. It's a silly Billy maneuver, perhaps, as, yeah, the barrier is not going to save you, as the Shoveler will come after you. Calyx is teleported in. And he hasn't actually used his one yet, as now Gideon just, what the heck was that damage? Absolutely absurd, but also absolutely absurd reason to go in. There wasn't quite one. As now Shiu trying to get on top of King, and who has a lot of damage, wants to do what he did in the mid lane. As now Lahens comes over. And one after the other, Nongshim are still picking fights. I just don't know whether it's necessarily the right idea. They still have about the same gold lead, but they lose out on Soul Point. So I guess there's that.
Yeah, so...
break it down for me, Hawks.
So you see, D+ have all these spears stacked up in the Arakan, and they still don't end up getting it. You know, the Poppy ult doesn't connect. It's the Poppy secures it. And you may think, wow, this is really good for Nongshim. I did too. And yet, didn't work out for them. This flank angle from Beryl puts Calyx low immediately. We see King was trying to 1v1 Shiwu for some reason.
The team fighting Yorick actually kind of works if you have like one target and then another target and then another target to fight within the team.
Yeah, it feels like the false bravado that Voracious Arakan gives to teams is just immediately their downfall. They're like, I'm unstoppable, I'm invincible. All 5 of them die and they lose Dragon.
Yeah, well now the Baron is up. And so Nongshim can just engage onto that if they would like to.
I feel like Arakan is just hype, you know? They hyped you to take it hypes you when you got the buff.
Yeah.
Just the downfall of so many teams.
And then you're just kind of buzzing after that, and so you start off a Baron. That is what's happening. Seismic Shove, not going to find Beryl.
I mean, if Gideon finds Lucid,
right,
there we go.
Okay, yeah, Lucid's just out of there. Lahens may die, but for the good of the colony, ladies and gentlemen, Shiu is going to look to try and get some extra pressure on, but I mean, that inner turret was already dead. And so DK just lose the Baron.
Yeah, and you know, Nongshim have a gold lead, Nongshim have Baron, but D+ are a dragon away from Soul. And you may be thinking, I mean, come on, they're 3,000 gold up, they got Baron, there's no way D+ gets Soul.
Yeah,
Not so convinced.
I mean, there is a keeper's verdict on the other team. So, yeah. I mean, sometimes you can talk about, oh, but it's a 50-50. If Gideon hits it, it's not.
Well, if Gideon hits it, it's not. But because it's Nongshim D+, I think it is again.
Oh, right. So it's not, but then it is.
Any adjusters to the probability just are ignored, and it just goes down to being a flip of 50-50.
Yeah,
you know, because you factor in the keeper's verdict, then you factor in the clones from Lucid and Beryl can block it, and just how this, it's just a flip. Okay.
This is why probability was my least favorite part of Mad.
Yeah, there's too many conditionals.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we can do is we can do some outcome-focused assessments, and whoever gets the dragon, it was a 100% chance they were going to get it because they got it.
Yep.
That's how it works.
I also think it's 100%. Okay, Lucid over the wall there as Gideon possibly out of position as the Ghoulie wall is going to... Oh, no, he gets a taxi out by Shiu, but Gideon will finally go down. Fate's Call is aiming, wanting to find more. Calyx going to get knocked up as Showmaker dives forward. Beryl is just dead, though. So it's a 1-for-1. Lucid finds Lahens in the back line, so they do lose their support as well, but Aiming's also dead. And Kingan's a raid boss. The rest of Nongshim, with their Baron and 6 grubs, are still just going to take an inhibitor here off the back end of the fight.
I think the pick on a Gideon was fantastic. And you could have just stopped there. You know, they threw Beryl in at 10 HP. I know he probably was calling for it, but
yeah,
still.
no, that was his choice. He could have pressed the other direction. As now Shiu just thrown around like a ragdoll and destroyed. To the skies goes Kingan, but it's actually Yorick that goes to the skies for real. As now, Beryl finds the angle. Oh, the charm for the finish off is now Shiu looking for it. But Beryl, he's got flash. He tries to get away. DK just desperately trying to hold on to their base. As one inhibitor still taken down, so still a good push here by Nongshim. But DK, I'm not going to lose the game right now.
This game feels even more chaotic than the last one.
Yeah.
Like, the last one finished chaotic, but this one just feels all over the place. And this was such a great pick, you know? The Ghoulie wall takes a long time for Gideon to take it down, so he needs to back up. The CC keeps landing, they take out Gideon. And then there was a point about right now where they chose to keep going in. They threw Beryl over the Unraveled Earth, and he immediately just gets exploded. Aiming loses half his health.
Yeah.
It was just so unnecessary. That didn't need to happen.
And Lucid was looking for a flank angle that whole time, so I actually think that Nongshim re-engaging there was the right call, because otherwise they'd have a backline Cyclone to deal with. And then this was Shu just not being allowed to play the game.
I feel like Nongshim just saw champions in front of them. And
Oh, God.
how are we here?
We're fighting around Otacon, the second spawn of the invisible Otacon. That's what we're doing, Ox. We're looking for that. As Weaver's Wall going to come in. That charm gorgeous there onto King, and he's going to be a big target, but Lucid likely to just be taken out. But that was the clone that fell down there. Now DK biding their time, standing strong as Pop Blossom still up for barrel. Absolutely deadly. These health bars relatively low on the side of Nongshim as DK just trying to walk it off.
Maker's trying to recall so he can TP back in. His ult is coming back quickly. Remember, this is that Malignance Ahri.
Yeah.
If he gets back with ultimate, he could clean up so well. So Nongshim is starting the Dragon quickly.
Down to 50% now. I don't think DK are going to quite get there in time as the teleport just brings Showmaker in. There goes the Dragon. The first one here for Nongshim. As the rest of DK now looking to wrap around. These health bars are still relatively low on the side of Nongshim, but still.
I just
get
love
themselves
how
out.
Come out the replay and there's just 10 people bot lane. Not even in the river. Not even on the Dragon. Just bot lane.
And I guess it
There's
makes
no
sense
towers
because the Dragon was there, but it was the fact that we were straight out of a replay of craziness and straight into craziness again.
But it's just the fact that there's no tower for... I think the actual closest tower is mid-tier 1. There's no towers anywhere near.
Yep.
I know the Dragon's nearby, but it's just like they're just in bot lane. It's just... It's like, you know when you play Earth and everyone just goes on the cannon and goes like top lane or bot lane at level 1 for a big fight?
yeah.
It's like that. Why? It's like they respawn and like we just have to fight. Why? Because we can win.
Exactly. And because we can, and because it's fun, and things like that. There's a lot of reasons.
Those are the vibes
that
of
wasn't
this game.
fun for aiming at all, as he gets hit by the Shock Blast. 1 minute until the Baron.
A big advantage Nongshim have right now is the poke, super long range, the Varus and the Jace, and it's also just very hard to close in on this Poppy Talia. So they just keep poking, setting up these objectives.
Yep.
They're in a great spot.
Showmaker almost has a cool hat put together. Could be a little bit scary if he does manage to get that Rabadon. So we know that this is the very high damage build. Shadow Flame second as well. That's a tough one. And there it is. Hat is done.
Big spike.
And Nongshim will be able to take down this turret. But can DK find it? Gee, what are we doing there? It's a little bit scary, but he knew that he was going to be okay, and he indeed was. I just get worried about 80 carries walking out of a brush.
Yeah, it was
to 3 people.
Bold choice. Didn't end up backfiring, so that's good. But I always feel like playing, you know, we've talked about the clone thing before, but this Wukong Nico composition, I feel like you can't really trust the numbers that you see in front of you.
And I'm really struggling with it, I'm not going to lie to you. There's so many wards on this top side, by the way. Look at Nongshim. They can see everything that is north of mid lane. It is absolutely absurd. It's Black Sheep Wall, I think, they wrote down. And all of these control wards are going to show them, all 5 of them, on the map.
Oh, don't do a Showmaker.
Yeah, he's not going to face check. That's all right, Beryl. Getting poked. That's the real one. That's a bit of value as Sheer not really wanting to face check, but does have to do so. Gulliwar comes up just to buy some space.
Dodges a piercing arrow.
Yep, that's high value. He's got a decent health bar, but doesn't have exactly tanky stats on this Yorick right now. The Maiden actually tanking up. That's actually very, very cute.
Very sad for the Maiden, though.
Yeah, she is going to slowly regen, somehow avoids that Shock Blast. As to face off.
I think if the Maiden takes a Shock Blast every minute, it'll survive.
Oh, there's the Pop Blossom, connects onto only one. Lehens goes up into the sky, but he comes down exactly where he doesn't want to be. Keeper's Verdict comes on through as Beryl is just dead. A trade of supports, but down goes the Yorick as well. Kingen does so much damage. Steadfast Presence comes through from Gideon. He just wipes up the remaining carries of DK. And Nongshim, they do not want a repeat of game number 1. This time, they really want to wipe out DK, and that team fight did exactly that.
I think they held their nerve. King get a lot of value on this Jace, and they don't make those same mistakes as last time. They don't start up the objectives and just let Lucid slide in and steal it. And Nongshim holds strong in this game. Definitely a messy one. This is never going to be a clean series, but they managed to equalize. And if you think how close game 1 was, I think Nongshim's only regret was that they could have been 2-0 right now.
Yeah, they kind of should be, because the entirety of game 1 was them making the right calls until the very end. Sometimes Elder flips go wrong though, so we can't really blame them too much. That's why we have best of 3s, and that's why they have an opportunity now to close out the series with a 2-1. You see Bengi looking pretty serious here in the DK booth. wanting to make sure that they can get their blue side decision-making done right.
Yeah, I mean, they have side selection now, and I feel like the weight of the picks Kingen has had, so much emphasis on the early draft has been about getting this man a favorable pick that he can take over with, and
that's most damage in the game, 2 games in a row, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, this Jace pick, I mean, even though they draft a lot of engage tools, it was always going to be a struggle to get onto these backline because of the Poppy and the Talia, and you're playing into Jace Varus. I think Nongshim had an edge as a result of that, and Kingen, he's showing why this team has given him so much investment in the draft. He's making it work.
Yeah, he really is. And I think that this is the first time we've seen Kingen on a team where he really is the main character. And it's paying off. Even if in some of these fights it didn't necessarily work, when it counts, Kingen gets it done, as we know. Time for us to take a short break. When we get back, Space will break it down, and then we'll have the final game of the series. We'll see you there.
바닥에 들어간다. 오케이. 나 집 갔다가 이거 템 사고 그 텔 찍을게. 나 여기다 쫙 보고 싶은데. 오케이. 나 집이야 집.
빼면서 리코. 빼면서.
나 크게 2초. 살짝 빨렸는데 못 빠지나?
바우스. 리코부터 잡아. 리코. 잡았어. 하면서 폭격. 칼리바.
대용고. 야 거리지 마. 야 지훈 좀 봐줘 가지고.
아니야. 끝났어.
어우 정신없어. 힘들어 죽겠네. 보고 있었어. 아니 조합이 근데 이게 그렇게 힘들게 해야 돼? 우리 그런 조합인데?
I've seen you playing a lot of TFT recently as well.
Oh, I've been
that is the
smashing
gambler's
TFT.
game.
Yeah, I've been, well, it is and it isn't. It's about knowing the things that you can hard force and then hard forcing them every game.
That's fair, but it is also about just hitting.
Yeah,
you know?
you also have to hit. So you just kind of go 50-50. It's fine. Sometimes you get the dopamine, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get Nocturne and Azir, and sometimes you don't. That is not what we're going to see from Nongshim or DK this game, as the Braum, the follow-up ban to the Vi.
Interesting. You know, we did see the Braum banned out in game 1, but in the second rotation. Very early ban for it to come out here, so potentially indicating that Lehens wants to play one of those engaged supports and someone have to deal with the Braum on the other side. Or maybe even thinking they want to prioritize the MF maybe, because we've seen Braum into that a lot, you know, to block the pull-up time. We'll see. Either way, we are getting the Nocturne, the Azir, and the Renekton. So a bit of a change of pace. With Nongshim, there's definitely that theme of like game 1, it's like ban top laners, game 2 was ban junglers and Sion. And Nongshim obviously being on the red side now, less of a choice of what to ban. Gwen is open, I think it's important to mention.
Yeah, Gwen, oh no, they're not going to ban it. Okay, so Neferi is going to be taken out. The reason the Renekton was banned is because if the Gwen then gets banned, then you're not as worried about picking the Ambessa, because Renekton is now stronger. So instead, they just get Gwen.
Max, I swear to God, if I see a Diana, I am going to be
so excited, because imagine if it just works this
No, we saw it. It didn't.
You know,
really-
like, no, but it was unfair, right? He died level 1, died in a 1v1 at like level 3, and it was, oh,
But you shouldn't
no,
do
this-
that. If your counter pick is like, oh yeah, you die at level 3, 1v1, and then maybe.
Do you know what Ambessa does? She also dies level 3.
Yeah, it's a rough matchup, you know. So King and hoping he can navigate that and get to the later stages. This would be a phenomenal game for a lane swap if it was still possible, but it's not. We will see that MF prioritize though come through. I think the problem somewhat hinted at that.
Yep. It is also one of Aiming's best champions, so not going to be seeing it, as we haven't seen Ezreal all series either.
It's in battle. I mean, I feel like Ezreal's pretty good here because it's hard for both the Ambessa and the MF to get on you. You could go the Ashe as well. The ult's decent at stopping the MF ult, but, you know, maybe a bit early to pick it up. The Ezreal feels very safe, and it looks like they are going to prioritize that here and now.
Yeah, that's the opportunity. I wouldn't mind keeping Beryl's option up in the air unless they've got something very high priority they want to take down, but there's not a lot of support bans outside of that weird Braum. And instead, Pantheon hopefully being hovered for Lucid. I do not really want to... Okay, that's Soraka, never mind. We got some weird stuff being hovered. Let's see what actually gets locked in.
Okay, interesting if they end up going for the Corki here. They end up going for a jungle. I think it makes sense. Jungle pool tends to get thinned out a fair bit as we get later in these drafts.
It also denies it from Gideon, but the Lilia was available. So I think that that's a little bit of a trap. This has been picked into Skarner over and over again. I think it's a large reason why Skarner's win rate has plummeted here in the LCK as well. So this is a great response from Nongshim.
Also, I don't know if you know there's a combo where if you use the ultimate for Lilia, you
the
can kill it
lilting time.
Yeah, and that definitely exists, and we definitely see LCK teams do it. And
you know I had Bullet Lullaby, like, right there.
Yeah, and you went the other direction.
I went with lilting time.
Yeah.
Not great.
That sounds so impressive.
They've got, like, completely different aura.
That sounds like, you know, it sounds like a sad, sounds like Maokai, just a sad tree. You know?
Or a Moo.
Well, lilting time.
Yeah, Curse of the Sad lilting time.
Yeah.
We need a Moo Jungle. That's what we need confirmed. We need to put Lilia somewhere.
Well, that's something
we'll
you
make
can
it
say. You know, if your partner ever comes to you and says, "What's the matter?" You can just say it's lilting time in a really sad tone.
I think they'd know. They'd understand. You know, oh no, I'm so sorry that that's happened again.
Again.
Because, you know, like, otherwise you can't just say it's lilting time, assuming they'll know if there's zero context behind it.
Well, you know,
They have to have, like, experienced
there's a
lilting
first time you have to establish it. The precedent.
Yeah. And I assume that's being said if that's what you're going to do. Otherwise, your communication needs to be looked into.
Yeah, needs some work. A lot of the engaged sports banned. You know, Alistair, Nautilus already gone. Nico Elise gone. Leona, Rel gone. Rakan also gone. There is the Shen, if Lehens wants to lean towards that. There's also the sort of less meta things like the Gragas or the Pantheon. Gragas has a little bit of anti-synergy with, oh no, do not.
Okay, we are friends of the forest here.
Not like that.
How many times has she been nerfed in a row now? You tend to keep up with this stuff. Yeah, okay.
And also, MF Lulu does not inspire joy.
No.
That is not, when you can list a bunch of 80 carries that pair well with Lulu, MF is towards the bottom.
Do you know what Lulu does? Lulu turns Ambessa into an engaged tool.
I mean, that's true.
If you land a sick ult from, like, across the screen and then Lulu's finally in range as it comes through as there's Showmaker Syndra. Oh my goodness, that is that's a tough one to have an answer for here for the young Calyx.
I'm going to present a prospect to you.
All right.
You are a small little Yordle support, right? And you want to go and ward, right? To establish vision for your team.
Got it.
You walk into a brush and you see a Syndra. It's over.
Yeah, you just get pelted with orbs,
It's over for you. It's over for you. So the bot as well, a lot of value into an MF, being able to stop that ultimate. And I'm not sure what Nongshim are going to bring out here.
Silas.
I'm feeling pretty D+ favored right now. Very D+ favored.
Silas was always a bit of an awkward choice into the Syndra because your ultimate will always do less damage.
Yeah, and also, there's just not that many good ultimates on the enemy team.
Wait. Hang on. Wait, if the Syndra ults and you got all the orbs, does the Silas pick up her orbs as well? He doesn't, right? That'd be crazy.
Okay. So I actually have some inside knowledge on this.
Right.
Remember when they did one above all?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you only ulted with your team's balls. I don't think you ulted with the other team's balls.
But
I don't
all
think
for,
you
yeah,
picked
but
there.
in all for one, that was a lot of orbs.
It was, so it was very fun. Syndra vs Syndra, and just everyone is always max, but I think it's only your teams, if I remember correctly. We'll see.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure you only can use your team's orbs when you're ulting.
Well, this is feeling like the first time in this series that we're coming out of a draft feeling like it's a bit DK favored. I feel like Nongshim have really done well in the drafting phase so far. Of course, blue side does tend to give you a little bit of an edge there here in the LCK, but this was navigated nicely. And the problem is, it all went wrong in the first pick because we've seen this before. Gwen gets through, you're like, don't worry, guys. I've got the Ambessa. And do you know what happens? You proceed to lose the game almost immediately. And that's what I'm worried for here. Kingen has been an absolute monster here today, and he is going to have to do the best work he has done yet in 2025 if the Noodle Boys want to win this one here. Whoa! Some extra extended cheering there from the Noodle fans, and I'm into it. I think they're going to need as much support and energy as possible. This is getting a little bit tricky. Nongshim going for a little bit of an invade. They are spotted.
Yeah, the cheeky Silas here over the wall to catch anyone unawares.
Oh, Kingen already with the sidestep. Gonna need as many of them as possible, especially when the needlework does start coming out. That's not for a few minutes, though.
Has gone first strike as well. He's just going to farm Calyx for gold.
Yeah. And this was, we have to remember, the Sylas picked into the Syndra. Syndra was a counter pick to Sylas.
You know, normally, I think in games, if Sylas has one good ult, I think it's fine. Like one great ult, because you kind of just lean on that one. If you have multiple good ults, helpful for when they're on cooldown or for some diversity, I don't think any of these ults are that.
I mean, Impale and Needlework are fine.
The thing with Needlework is, I just feel like it doesn't do as much damage unless you're built like Gwen.
Yeah. I mean, Calyx will kind of build like Gwen, basically.
And I think the Impale is fine. Like, it's definitely the best one, but it's not...
Yeah, it's not awe-inspiring.
Yeah, and then, like, the Bard ultimate is okay. There's times where that's useful, but, you know, it doesn't really scale with the fact that you have AP and Bard doesn't.
Yeah, you don't. It doesn't have, like, the I now have a Glacial Fissure that works like a Equalizer or anything like that. Is now... We got some heals traded. Gio just walking at them. Beryl almost just dies.
Calculated.
I guess so, but now Lehans is going to get the flash as Pix is going to help out. And Beryl, how did we not see that that was going to happen? He has Electrocute, by the way.
It is calculated, but boy, is he bad at math.
Yeah. That was like math on stream. It's not really what you want to see. Is Calyx tanking up a whole bunch of minions here. What did Beryl mean by this?
Look, the more we try and understand Beryl,
yeah, the less we understand anything.
Yeah, it's just one of those philosophical questions that never really has an answer.
Well, he wanted to give aiming a bit more experience.
Well, he did do that, and he can pick up chimes for experience to make up for it.
Oh, there we go. We didn't need this stat. We know that this is pretty cooked for the Ambessa. However, if the bottom lane just dies over and over again on the side of DK, maybe the Gwen having just a natural lead in the matchup is not going to be a problem.
Then again, it is MF Lulu, where it's like...
You really don't like this lane.
I really don't like this lane.
The one good thing Nongshim does have is that their topside 2v2 is really strong. The Lilia and Ambessa, I think, are going to get a lot more work done in the earlier stages.
I mean, I think the jungle matchup is good for Nongshim, so we'll see what Gideon's able to do on this Lilia.
He has kind of been the linchpin of this team, as Lucid will be able to send this one away, as Calyx could be in trouble, but Lehans moves up, and Showmaker is just dead. Gideon just does a pirouette and takes him down. Beryl's still unable to really electrocute anyone.
Good moves coming out, and Calyx really setting that one up, getting the backup as well.
Huh.
We talked about the mid lane matchup being a bit rough for the Sylas in the early game. That gank going a long way, and Lehans making his impact on this game known.
And sometimes drafts mean a little less. If there are some errors, perhaps, some outplays.
I think we've learned that whichever team wins has the better draft. It's just an established fact, you know?
I am so sorry. Outcome focused assessment is real. Speaking of is real, Aiming, taking a little bit of damage here. Oh, sorry, that's his. Never mind. Kingen and Shiu fighting here, as you can see. Kingen, if he lands all of his buttons, then things can be okay. You can still see, with a little bit of a experience advantage. It's now Calyx calling for it. Does have Kingslayer to keep that health bar up, and even flashes in. Man, that was sick. A little bit minion blocked, but not too worried about Beryl with his Electrocute on cooldown.
Yeah, it gets explosion in the queue as well. I think there's a situation where Showmaker was waiting for the best time to flash and just never found it.
Yeah.
And now Calyx, double Ruby Crystal in the inventory. Showmaker didn't get the back for the Lost Chapter. Not a great spot to be in, and suddenly the lane just plays out completely differently to what we saw before.
Yeah, this is a strange circumstance. Level 5 for Showmaker, wants to get that unleashed power as soon as he can. But we shall see. Calyx now with a whole bunch of extra control. There's a couple of red rocks helping him out. A bit of extra health. Not end of the world or anything like that for D+. The draft is still going to be strong, but if they keep making whoopsies, then it doesn't matter what your draft is. You're just going to lose. Yeah, no matter how it goes. I feel like we're all accustomed to it, right? Solo queue, you're like loading in, you're like, damn, these champions are so much better.
It happens
It matters almost never.
I swear, all the time, so I'm like, this draft is so bad. Should I dodge? And I'm like, nah, and then we just roll them so hard. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Exactly. It just means that sometimes you're playing a different game, as these players often on a little bit of a more even field. As, okay, Scat of the Week is not going to be Calyx. Demonstrated before that he's pretty strong. We have to remember as well that this is Lehens on the Lulu. This guy's Lulu, like, won Gen G championships. He is extremely good at this champion, so if there's anyone that can actually find value in it, certainly him. It's DK doing their very best to get themselves out. Shiu does have some mist to go down, as the last remaining grubs are going to be secured by Nongshim. Gideon looking for an angle here as the Magical Journey not going to be taken by Shiu. And the reason DK were backing away is because Shiu had actually roamed up, and Aiming was just farming in the bottom lane.
He's the Gold King for a reason.
Indeed.
But they did get that one grub, so denying the full 3 from Nongshim, I think we'll be happy with that one. But definitely cautious about interacting right now.
Showmaker is Spirit Blossoming a whole lot harder than anyone else.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he's playing Syndra.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important to note. He's on theme.
Imagine having to justify picking a champion, and you're like, yeah, so I think Syndra's really good here because of this, that, and this. You know, I'm really comfortable on Syndra, and it's just really, I just want to use the new skin.
Yeah. And sometimes you do. I mean, it's Showmaker. This is one of his signature picks. Has already gone down in that mid lane, but probably not going to be too worried about it. Of course, you want level 6. You want to be able to blow up these targets. And DK, what they need to do is get control of vision around the map. When you have champions that do a heck of a lot of burst damage to a single target, vision control is everything. And no look at the dragon just yet. 2 kills over to Nongshim, so only 1 more of those before they get those feats of warfare. They have a 1,000 gold lead. Every game, I feel like it's just, you've got a 1,000 gold lead. It's kind of been the way. Gio is going to be able to shove this wave towards the bottom outer turret.
I mean, Nongshim's been good at finding those early leads.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Gideon and Lehens, no matter what happens, especially going up against Lucid Beryl, they've had a really good performance so far.
And you don't know what you're going to get with Beryl. That's granted. But Lucid is just generally good.
Yeah.
And in this series, Gideon, I feel, has been getting the better of him.
I think other than those smites in game 1, I think you're completely right.
Yeah. Calyx, oh, nice bowling ball dodging here from Showmaker. Is Aiming, gonna have to deal with it. Thankfully, he's got some cocoa to be eaten. It's not actually the cocoa, as Beryl has taken Carrier's skin and doesn't have that one, but still trying to get his health back, as now Lucid wants to drive on in, but instead decides not to. Gideon now just going to steal away a blue buff. Let's see whether Lucid can get over here to stop this.
We'll come down on the smite.
Oh, okay. Lucid actually just going to let him have it, not wanting to risk it with Silas moving over. Gio taking a fair bit of damage there, actually soaks up the damage with his barrier.
Oh, my Beryl tried to help
and
set up the farm for Aiming, and the passive damage is too much.
God, synergy destroyed. And Lehens is there watching as well. Lehens knows how much that hurts Aimings' feelings. Aimings' that's not a word. That's not how you say that. Aimings' feelings. Thank you very much, Atlas. It's all right. Bit of a battle here between the Brad and the Lulu. All right, no double up for Jiu, but it just wanted to go back home. He's about 200 gold in the lead. As Jiu not exactly hard smashing this lane, as we have seen some Gwens do.
I mean, Kingan's been holding up pretty well.
Yeah.
Didn't get solo killed at level 4, which is...
Maybe Kingan's just feeling himself that much that he's like, give me the Ambessa matchup, I don't care.
Yeah.
He would be the guy to do that. I don't know whether it's ever the right choice.
He saw the 6-0 matchup and was like, I can fix it.
Yep. Just looked over at Chelly and he's like, you trust me, right? Chelly's like, well, I guess so. I assume that's how it went down.
Of course, of course.
I guess. That's all right, snip, snip. And Kingan just darting around the lane. Doing a pretty good job. Look at this.
Yeah, I feel like Gwen is one of those characters that it feels like she doesn't really use mana that often. But Kingan doesn't use mana at all. Bit of an edge in that regard.
I'd say winning.
And
She's
now
still going to be able to go back
again.
and see what he can collect for himself. Going to be a mask and a codex.
Function in position. They have 5 here as well.
Yeah, and there's a teleport on Shiu, but I don't know whether he necessarily wants to use it. Kingan going to rotate down, and this isn't worth contesting, I don't think. That will be...
Would be good if they got something else, though.
Yeah. So if you're going to waste time over here, maybe go for something is the option. Public execution going to connect. The bullet time comes down and aiming is executed. Feats of warfare in an instant. And Nongshim continuing on that front foot.
I mean, a great pick coming out from Nongshim, but D+, it felt like they were just supervising it. You know, that's dragging up. There's things you could be doing. You're just watching them take it, waiting for them to engage, and then you die.
Oh dear, there's a flash. As soon as the Impale is used, Calyx has the flash now on cooldown for Showmaker. He does land the Scatter the Weak. Does a lot of damage.
There's a lot of gold as well.
Oh yeah, first strike.
But yeah, I mean, also, you shouldn't be getting hit by this. You should be buffering this as aiming. Eats it, and then Lahens flashes in to ult to extend the CC chain. I think was going to go for the Polymorph as well, but didn't end up casting it, but regardless, aiming was just dead. But, you know, you can buffer that. As an Ezreal, I think as other champions, I'd be more patient for a mistake like that, but as Ezreal, you really should never be getting hit by that in that setting.
Yeah, you also had no reason to be there. Like you were saying, supervision not necessary. If you don't intend on actually contesting for the grubs, then go and take a dragon or something like that instead of throwing your lives away. But instead, as it stands, 1.5k going to be the approximate lead here for Nongshim moving into the mid game. No dragons taken yet again, 12 minutes. And so once more, we will have a pretty late soul if we ever do get to one. Okay, Showmaker clearing out minions, and Calyx, despite the fact that we really did not like this Sylas pickup in this position, it's kind of working.
Doing pretty good. I mean, overall, Nongshim are doing pretty good. You know, the top matchup we're concerned about, Kingan's done fine. The jungle matchup where it is favored is going really well. But it just feels like Nongshim are navigating things pretty solidly for the jungle matchup.
Yeah, Lucid is just going to have to deal with Bambi here momentarily. Does manage to get the smite, as Watch Out. It does kind of telegraph when the damage is coming in, so that is likely just a 50-50. And that will be won by Lucid. Gideon now able to pirouette onto this dragon. And with Lucid unable to face check, it's going to be a dangerous time. Instead, just going to use that to keep the stacks up heading into his blue buff take. We'll be able to secure that one as Showmaker gets back to work here in mid. Ooh, some unleashed power. Really want to see whether all of those orbs are picked up, but I don't think they are. I think it's exactly as you say, as okay, there's a flash in from Lucid. Gets the Impale there as well. And Calyx does get healed up. The Wild Growth helping out, but not helping out enough. As Tempered Fate will keep Showmaker alive for a little while longer, but timed really nicely here is Gideon as Beryl comes in, avoids one of those pirouettes as he gets slammed into the wall, and Quick Barrel electrocute harder as there's a solo kill from Gwen. That did what it said on the tin, absolutely. And Gideon also doing exactly what he needs to as well, buffed up by Lahens. This is a scary, scary Lilia.
That's the thing, in the longer fight with Lahens there to keep Gideon healthy, the extended damage, the sustained damage is there for the Lilia, but not for the Skarner. I will say though, just when we'd kind of praised Kingan for holding up in this matchup, does get solo killed, not ideal.
It's the matchup. That's what you're priced into it.
Yeah.
You know, at the start of the game.
I mean, they land everything. Everything lands on a Calyx, but ultimately those still take a lot of resources to kill him. We get the ult comes out from the bar to buy time, but doesn't really change anything. And then here, you know, they're putting that damage into Gideon, and they get him low, but
Gideon
they
played
just
this
run out.
exceptionally well, and then Lahens comes in with the wild growth.
Yeah.
What's she gonna do?
Trying to find the damage there, but just not available. Let's see what happened here.
Well, he didn't land the ultimate, and Shu landed the ultimate.
Yes, he just pressed all his buttons.
And pretty well, I might add.
For sure. But it just kind of, you know, you're playing a melee champion into Gwen, and Gwen...
No. You said melee. Not required.
That's true.
You're playing a champion.
But at least a ranged champion, you can kind of keep your distance. King just have to kind of approach the wave or potentially Gwen. And then that happens. So, you know, D+, they'll appreciate the fact that they have this strong Gwen.
Yep. Showmaker now with some Swifties built up and an Aether Wisp. He is he's trying to get some movement speed after this Blackfire Torch has been done.
He wants to be fast.
And I could understand that. And it's understandable for the champion as well, as now Shu going to ask Kingen why he is wanting to fight, as that charged up Snip Snip is just doing more damage than it should.
Yeah, Fizzles have the Rift Maker already, so those longer fights not going to feel fun.
All right, Lucid thinking about going for a gank onto Kingen here as Gideon's going to come down. Oh, the public execution is blocked, but still, Kingen's able to use it to get out, and now Teleport is coming in. The Impale just drags the Lilia away, but he's walking towards Chiu, and unfortunately for Lucid, it's just a sacrifice of his own life. That will equal a Dragon for Nongshim at the same time as Showmaker looking to try and at least get some side lane pressure in here. But DK, it feels like they're trading down.
Felt like an unforced error, honestly. And the problem with going for a flank angle onto an Ambessa is it gives you an exit route. You know, her ult has to go and hit a target to get her out. And I think it kind of backfired as a result. Dragon picked up for Nongshim. Still, you know, we talked about it being a late soul without just being the first Dragon. I don't think D+ are too worried right now. But it is Nongshim with about a 1,700 gold lead. And if you look on the scoreboard, that's the jungle matchup lead. This Gideon is so strong right now.
He's an absolute monster. There's a little bit of a lead in the solo lanes for DK, but it's mattering so much less. As you can see here, this is going to be feats of strength lockdown once again for Nongshim. The translation of this jungle advantage into objectives, into map control is absolutely apparent. There it goes. Those shoes made for walking. Looking real nice here on the side of Nongshim. And DK just not really showing that same level of togetherness that we've seen in other series this season.
Yeah.
Haven't really seen as much of it since the LCK Cup. I feel like that was like peak DK, you know, until they were dispatched.
Yeah, until they got 3-0 by Genji.
Yeah.
And that was such a weird thing because we were so hyped on them and they were looking really good. And we're talking about how as a fearless team, they're bringing out these sort of more obscure picks, and we've seen a lot less of that. We still have like Showmaker bringing out the Syndra in this game, for example. There's still been occasional things, but it feels like they've been more reserved, but they haven't looked better for it.
Yeah. And even things like the Syndra, it doesn't feel like a checkmate in the matchup. You know, you don't, the comp doesn't just come together after that comes in as well, even though it was, you know, something that worked out in the end.
Well, the hands can steal our Raptor.
Yeah. And it's looking like, okay, Shim coming on through. Gideon is playing aggressively, and will get slammed into the wall. See where the Lucid gets sleepy, as that is a lot of damage. Wild Growth going to work out, though, as Gideon gets the heal, gets himself out as their scat of the week. We'll see whether Lahens is going to be the target. Tempered Fate buys some space. As Lahens, the needlework comes in. There's the Mystic Shot. Teleport immediately to try and catch Kingen, looking to take this turret. He may actually still just take it. There are a lot of minions, and there it goes.
5 grubs.
Yeah, that'll do it. Rift Herald now going to be thrown down in the mid lane as there's bullet time. Not going to be enough to take down aiming. He had Arcane Shift, and so he will be all right. But look at this pressure. It is massive. It's now Showmaker trying to dodge Calix's abilities, and he has to use the flash to get out of the way of Lucid. So he will escape, does have to invest that.
And it feels like D+, you know, they get the kill onto Lahens, they get the flash from Calix, but the structures are in favor of Nongshim. It feels like despite, you know, those little advantages D+ are trying to find, it still doesn't feel super favorable for them right now.
Yeah. And I feel like we're heading towards more of a bullet lullaby rather than a lilting time in this game. That's what I'm starting to feel.
maybe a lilting time for D+.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. This is the problem.
So this one, they try and find Gideon, but the wild growth from the Lulu, massive value, hitting 3 people. And Beryl ends up having to flash out before he gets nuked there. And then, you know, Showmaker finds a stun onto the Lulu, and we obviously see the squishy Lulu does not stand up well to D+'s composition. But then they're doing that, they're baiting TP to respond to the top tower, but it goes down anyway. And it feels scrappy.
It really does. All right. Well, Showmaker has 2 items now completed. Jiu does have his Bloodthirster though, so he's very happy to park himself in this mid lane. The 2 items that Aiming was looking for definitely are big, as Lucid does at least secure his blue buff here on their side of the map. Big flash forward as it again, we have the wild growth. Let's see whether Gideon can actually survive, and this time he'll have to use his flash, but he will live. Tempered Fate coming on through here. As Lahan's continuing to take a lot of damage, as Shiu is so scary, but the bullet time, he soaks the entire thing and has to get out. Kingen, in the meantime, is just cutting down turrets on the other side of the map.
I mean, D+ are trying to force, they're not finding success, and they're just losing in the side lane as this goes on. The stun from Showmaker didn't quite connect on a Gideon. Could have been a different story if it had. But fortunately, a couple of skill shots miss. You mis-execute on the fight. And because you're not setting up in the side lane properly, you're just losing out overall. You have to make sure your homework is done. Otherwise, you're very much relying on the fights going well. Next Dragon's up in about 12 seconds. Yeah, it's only going to be second for Nongshim. It's not a huge concern right now, but I think with the state of the game at the moment, D+ probably just going to give it over.
Could imagine, and that'll be the first time in this series that Nongshim have been able to get the first 2 Drakes. DK have had a monopoly on that thus far. As Kingen happily clearing out minions here on this bottom side, actually has a slight gold advantage as well, as we can see, as Lucid getting some control vision onto this Ocean Drake. Whether it's necessarily worth throwing your life away for, but he's still going to walk on in, see what he can get done. That is going to be Gideon locking it down though. No real response. Now Lucid gets in as best he can. It's a Cloud Soul, but Kingen starting up the public execution, and Beryl going to be the first one to go down as a response. There's a decent impale though, and it's the stolen one. It's so good from Calyx. They're wiping the floor with DK.
Once again, D+ just watching Nongshim take an objective. If you're not going to contest it, why be there? And apparently it's just to feed Nongshim after they're done taking the dragon.
They deserve it. That's maybe why. As instead, Nongshim, they kill all of them, and then they move up to Arakan. Probably the best start of an Arakan that we've seen. But instead, we're going to watch the replay here. As DK, I think they thought they had an angle, but Kingen starting off this fight was so good.
Gonna go for the Smite Steal, and then yeah, Kingen getting that great ult in. The sleep comes through, the Ezreal's dead. It's just member after member falling down. The Lucid ults, but to no avail. And now you lose a dragon, you lose the fight. You're going to lose the Arakan as well. They can even delay this a little bit so it overlaps with the Baron.
There goes the Arakan. So Gideon going to be locking that one down for the team.
Yeah, a little, if you look, it's like 2:18 for the Baron. The Arakan buff drops like 6 seconds after Baron is up.
No.
So,
well, actually, no, you get set up for it, right?
you got to set up for it for sure, but I think if it was like 30 seconds later, it would have been perfect. But I understand they're not going to wait around Arakan for 30 seconds. It's still, things are all in favor of Nongshim. I'm not saying this is like, oh, this is bad for Nongshim. It just could have been better, but really that would have been the icing on the cake, because right now you look at the items across the board. This Rift Maker Leandries for this Lilia, who also has the Seeker's Arm Guard, 2.2k gold lead between junglers.
Yeah, I feel like it's the Arm Guard. Like, they really wanted to try and get the pick onto Gideon before the Zhonya's is complete. And now they're not going to be able to do that. I feel like this huge bounty is going to be difficult to find. Still, they're going to stun him up. Let's see whether Gideon is going to be able to get out of this one. Bullet time. Can that be broken there as Shiu looking for Jiwoo? As there is the recall. And Kingen dashing around the fight. Nongshim, no need to overinvest. They've got Calyx on the top side just taking an inner turret. And Nongshim just have the answers to everything DK's trying to do this game.
Every single time you see D+ taking a fight, there's someone in the side lane taking a structure. And they only get the recall for Gideon. They don't get that gold shutdown. They don't get that bounty.
Yep.
And it just feels like Nongshim are playing the map so much better right now.
Yep, public execution not going to get Kingen out of here, but it's still just Kingen taking a bit of a rest back in base. And Nongshim are going to rotate down. The rest of DK coming up. See what they can actually find here. Cosmic Binding needed to hit their barrel as Jiu in an awkward spot, but still standing his ground against. Aiming, that is still going to be $200 going over to Shiu. As Calix, the next one on the menu, some needlework coming out as the polymorph onto Lucid's pretty cute. Still the crash comes in, and there's the explosion of damage. Another recall, another Voracious Otacon being a little bit awkward, as Gideon doesn't have an extra life, but he does have a lot of his own health bar. And regardless of the fact that it was just a lot of, money going into the pockets of DK, the lead for Nongshim is gigantic, and the bounties are still up.
Yeah, it was a little bit goofy from Nongshim there. Very unnecessary. But it hasn't really drastically changed the state of the game.
Yeah, I would say it almost did nothing.
Yeah, and here Gideon a little bit overextended, fueling himself, thinking I'm fed, I'm strong. The bullet time comes through, but it's onto a Gwen in her W and the Skarner, not really doing much damage. But then they keep hanging around, they keep opting into this. And this play, quite frankly, Kingen survives for a while, but you kind of know he's going to go down.
Yeah, it was kind of cute to go for the ult escape angle onto Lucid.
But then Jiwoo just ends up walking in, and yes, this Cosmic Binding misses from barrel. If it hit, he was dead immediately. He still ends up going down.
Yeah, instead he was dead a little bit later.
Yeah, so
DK's still in with a fighting chance.
A weird one, I think it's safe to say.
I would agree, and in fact, the whole series has been a weird one. Don't you reckon? I just feel like it's been very, very close, and in a lot of these circumstances, decisions have been odd.
This game it's obviously very favored towards Nongshim. You can see in the goal graph. I don't need to remind you, we've seen Nongshim throw games in this state.
Oh, really?
When was that? At the series.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that was an hour ago.
Yeah, literally an hour ago. So, as much as that situation doesn't really amount to a major throw or something that puts D+ in the driving seat, you have to question, is that making Nongshim kind of worry a little bit? Because they definitely will not have fully mentally reset from that game 1.
Yep, it's a tough one, although game 2 was pretty clean, especially with the late game and how they played it out. I feel like Lehens is the one to me that is truly locked in. As Calix...
Guys, what is a side lane?
Yeah, what is a side lane? Calix is just here taking an inhibitor turret, and that will go down. It will be responded with by the first Cloud Drake of the game going over to DK.
Oh, that's a TP flank.
Oh, God. Kingen has him where he wants him as there's the public execution onto Beryl. He's likely just dead, and that is indeed true. As the Impale goes entirely wide. Gideon now in a little bit of trouble here is on the side lane. Calix has found Showmaker, and I don't think Showmaker's doing anything about it. He'll slow him up for a little bit. But then, oh, actually, he's got a lot of movement speed, guys. Never mind, he's dead. As Calix is able to lock that one down with the passive, spins around, gets those chains working, and down goes the Syndra.
I mean, I get that you don't want to give over the Cloud Soul, and because especially this composition with the Cloud Soul would be crazy. But they just kind of locked into this messy situation. We have the TP coming through from Syndra, but it's right next to the Silas, who's in a prime position to duel.
Yeah, and that was actually Calix's Tempered Fate there as well. Really beautifully done.
We did get the... I think this was a bit of a lilting time for D+.
Yeah, for D+, definitely. But it was a bullet lullaby.
It absolutely was. And they only hit Lucid, but Lucid goes down. 0-4-2 on the Skarner, not having the impact he wanted in this game. And now Nongshim will easily pick up this Baron.
Oh, well, that's going to be annoying. True Shot Barrage. Oh, God, that was way too close. That was way too close. As Nongshim fans just like, not even close, baby. It's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Just got to make it a little spicy, you know? Can't have it too clean, otherwise people would lose interest.
Yeah, you just... Gideon knew. Gideon knew. That one was for the fans. That wasn't for aiming.
Okay, it's now an 8,000 gold lead.
Yeah, this game's pretty much done and dusted. I actually thought that with DK finally moving over to the blue side, they would be able to just do it. And we thought with the draft, things were looking good. As the Brambleback really went on a bit of a journey. As we can see there, now they're going to have to race.
Guys, what is going on?
What is why are we... Okay, well, everyone's just going to play the Brambleback game.
Yeah,
Okay, Showmaker's... Oh, let's do it again. Let's do it again. That's a really good idea. Finally, there it goes. Showmaker locks that down.
What a huge win.
That's massive. Jiu pressed his R button.
He forced him a kills to cleanse the slow.
There we go.
What
Okay.
is the side lane?
What does this game mean? It's okay. There's an impale! Oh no! Lucid getting a taste of his own medicine here as he's now trying to get out, but now it is lilting time, ladies and gentlemen. Beryl is going to get knocked up and destroyed, although he survives for a little bit longer than we expect. There is Lucid going down, and Aiming's like, yeah, nah, can't help you there. And that is going to be exactly right as DK trying to defend this, but instead it's King in starting up the fight. The Ambessa, I think, is going to get her first win against this Gwen. You never take him down a 7th time in a row in this top lane matchup. And even though he died in the 1v1, it does not matter as DK looking to try and defend their Nexus turrets, and Nongshim looking to just say no. The Nexus turret's going down so incredibly fast, and Nongshim will put themselves right up at the top. They are heading towards Legend Group. That's what it feels like here in the LCK as they finish the round robin. Looking great.
I mean, I think off the back of this, Nongshim have made the statement that right now they're the 3rd best team in the league.
Yeah.
I think, I mean,
And do
obviously
they statistically get there as well?
in the standings are there, but I think, you know, Gen.G and HLE's position as the top 2, pretty hard to contest. But there was this middle of the pack group that it was always a wonder who would end up stepping up. You know, teams with different strength of schedules, it was hard to place. But right now, Nongshim have made a clear claim. And considering they won 3 games in this series, but fumbled the first one,
Yeah.
I think it holds true. You know, every single early game they had an advantage. Every single time they had that edge.
And Gideon is so good at League of Legends.
Oh, yeah.
This guy is like playing absolutely out of his mind. His Sejuani almost flawless in game 1. This young guy in the mid lane, we'll get to you, Calix. You had a phenomenal series as well. But Gideon has just not failed to impress me in almost any game that he's played this season.
Yeah, I think the partnership of Gideon Lahens has given so much value, but as you said, Calix coming in, what a breath of life that it is given.
Oh, yeah.
Who were already on the up, you know, they already look like they were one of our solid contenders. They already look like they were probably going to make Legend Group, but Calix has really solidified this lineup, and the confidence he plays with, I think, the setup in when it comes to team fights, the angles he finds, and the willingness like there. Showmaker's TPing in, he's like, I have the Tempered Fate, I'm just going to 1v1 him, and he delivers.
Yeah, and also making the Sylas work with the tools that he had in that game. We said it already. It was like, Tempered Fate doesn't get you damage advantages, but it's a useful ultimate, can really change how things goes. He managed to utilize it really, really well towards the bottom side of the map there in the second last team fight, as well as getting Impale after Impale. Lucid, it felt like he was there in the game just to get his ultimate hijacked.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't an easy game to play Sylas, but he really made it work. Coach obviously very happy with him. And we'll see some replays. Still not inspired by Lulu MF, but I think this was just Nongshim making it work. And
Yeah.
had the laning advantages. This was certainly a decision by Beryl to walk up. Wait, can Lulu stealth? No?
Maybe that was what happened.
If Lulu can't stealth, then I don't understand it. If Lulu can go invisible, then I get it a little bit more.
Well, this was a better look for DK, but still, Showmaker going down, the fact that Gideon then becomes absolutely gigantic. Can understand why a lot of these Lilia bans are coming in. It was Nongshim that was taking her off the board because, of course, Lucid has had some brilliant performances on the pick, and Gideon just demonstrating what you can do if you get it in the good matchup. Feels like a little bit of disrespect on the side of DK, I think, to leave that one up, but there was also the fact that Gwen went over to DK, so you'd think with a winning topside matchup, things would feel a lot better. The Calix just gets a really nice Impale. They destroy Aiming, and Nongshim off to the races in this series.
Yep, and just some great objective setup from Nongshim coming out of this game 3. Really understanding how to ensure that Lucid can't just wandering at steal, how they can make sure they get a favorable fight, and kind of picking them apart. And sadly, for Showmaker fans, for D+ fans, the Syndra not having the impact maybe we'd hope.
Yeah.
Like a lot of fans wondering when we would see it. Maybe the last time for a while.
I would agree. Gideon finding a beautiful angle for the lilting lullaby. Beryl just thrown around like a ragdoll and destroyed.
Yeah,
Lucid, no options.
The Bard, it started a bit rough. And it ended a bit rough.
Yeah, the electrocute Bard has been a thing since the inception of Bard, I think. With the fact that you've got the meep slap and stuff like that, you can do a surprising amount of damage. It didn't work here in this game, as we saw. And then DK just unable to really stop the Noodles from crashing down on their base. Must feel so cathartic here for Kingen as well, to be the only one to win the matchup against the Gwen as the Ambessa. Even though he did get solo killed, I think outside of that, was able to keep up pretty comfortably. Especially with the fact that the game state was so far in his favor. Double the damage here for this Lilia. Jiu also doing a lot of work there on the MF. Man, Nongshim, they're just good.
They're just good. They're just good. I think that's the clear thing to take away from this situation. I think, you know, as much as it was a bit of a scrappy series, as much as it was a back and forth, this was our 3rd and 4th place teams. It's not going to be super easy, but, you know, the loss, yes, D+ played well to get back into it, but this was 3 early games in a row.
Yeah.
When Nongshim were ahead, they set the pace of the game, and this man is the reason why.
Yep, utterly dominated by Gideon. His jungle performance just so good. His Poppy has been great every single game he's played it. That game number 2 was brilliant. Even though he did get caught a couple of times here and there, they were still able to come out with the victory in the end, and this Lilia performance was absolutely unstoppable. Man, what an impressive squad.
Yeah, 100%. I just think I have so many positive things to say, and I just hope we see this trajectory continue for this team, because you know, when we've seen some other teams struggle a little bit on in the LCK, you know, maybe working things out, feels like Nongshim's just risen up.
Yeah. And now we get to have a chat with Gideon. Also, as you can see there, Lehens will be on the space to perhaps give us an eye on what some of the recipes are coming into the next round robin. And finishing this one, 6-3 for Nongshim. They're clearly 3rd place. No one's actually going to be able to catch them before the end of the round robin as well. Had to make sure that we check that out. And that is not where I was expecting them to be. Kicking DK down to 4th and then being able to solidify their spot. I did have them in 4th place as far as assumed location, but they have really, even then, it felt like that was an overestimation, but they've exceeded even that.
Yep. I think with how they're playing right now, I think really they deserve all the credit. And I think it's just, you know, again, you can be slightly above, like, D+, you could have won this series and it'd be really close and think like, you know, maybe it was on the day.
Yeah.
But I think everyone who watched the series is like, yeah, they were the better team today. It's clear. It's very fine.
Yep. Absolutely amazingly done. And hearing the cheers in the background, I have a feeling Gideon is getting ready to have a conversation. So now it is time for us to throw it over for the interview. We will have that one ready very quickly. Glad that we got a little bit of a glimpse there as he made his way in, because that was a large amount of applause from the Nongshim fans, as Gideon really just has been incredible. So let's throw it over to that interview now.
Thank you very much, guys. This is here for the POM interview translation, joined by Gideon on the side of Nongshim Red Force. Congratulations! With your victory over DK, Nongshim has secured 3rd place. How do you feel? Now, today was the 3rd place decider, and I'm just really happy that we were able to win. Nongshim was on a 12-match losing streak, and you got your revenge finally. And in Game 2, you dominated with jungle Poppy, and so far in this season, Poppy has a 5-win 3-loss record, and you have a 3-win, 1-loss score with her. So how confident are you with Poppy? You know, I don't think Poppy is that great of a pick right now, but I feel like I have enough confidence to be able to play Poppy against anyone. And looking at the draft in Game 3, it looks like the pocket pickers took Syndra and Bard. So what kind of theme did you expect from their draft? You know, if Bard were to be enabled, the game would have been a lot harder, but I think Lehens did really well to deny him. And it looks like today, in today's match, you played Sejuani, Poppy, and Lilia, such team-centric supportive junglers. So what is the background between picking these? I think it's because mainly our teammates are really good, so I expected that as long as I support them well, that we will be able to carry the game. So now Nongshim is an established West team.
우리 팀의 경기력 어디까지 올라왔다고 생각하시나요?
Where do you think the team's current level of performance and play is at? I think today, overall it wasn't too bad, but we definitely do have room for improvement. So given that we have upcoming matches against strong teams, I think we just have to prep even harder. And with that amazing victory, you finished round 1 with a 6-win and 3-loss record. What are your goals and resolution for round 2? Round 2 will start pretty soon, and I think we will always try to aim even higher, so please continue supporting us. Thank you so much. And that's the end of the interview with Gideon, and back to the space. Thank you.